If there's any problems that you've had with Shanann, at the end of the day, she seemed like she was a pretty good mom, right?
I was a pretty good dad as well.
The small town of Frederick, Colorado gained national attention in 2018 when the resident Chris Watts was convicted of murdering his pregnant wife Shanann and their two young daughters, Bella and Celeste. The case drew widespread media coverage due to its shocking nature and the subsequent revelations about Watts' actions. After committing the murders, Chris Watts disposed of the bodies of his daughters in two separate crude oil tanks and buried his wife in a shallow grave at an oil site where he worked. The investigation, legal proceedings, and the heartbreaking details of the crime have sparked intense public interest and discussions about family dynamics, domestic violence, and the pursuit of justice. Watts later pleaded guilty to multiple charges, receiving 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole for the murders of his pregnant wife and daughters.
We were preparing for a murder trial, and a murder trial that was going to last years. And all of a sudden I receive a phone call from Detective Baumover, and he said, "Hey, Chris is going to plead guilty to all charges." Whoa, wait, like, we're not done. We have all these things to do. We didn't examine all the evidence. We didn't interview every witness we needed to. We didn't do all of these things that you would do in a normal investigation because he stopped the clock.
I remember it like it was yesterday. The Weld County District Attorney's Office released a 1,960-page discovery file as well as close to 100 GB of digital files containing data, pictures, and reports to the public shortly after Chris Watts was sentenced. Every one of us was downloading the files at the same time, causing the DA's server to crash for more than 6 hours. One of these individuals was me. I'm TJ, and many of you already know me and my channel, The Redix Crime Files. While sifting through those documents, videos, reports, and raw data, the case unraveled before my eyes, revealing shocking truths that sent shivers down my spine. As a true crime enthusiast, this journey into the unknown has been both captivating and unsettling. I felt it. Something was off. Something was sus, and I made it my priority to find the truth. Over the past few years, I've delved deep into the abyss, tirelessly piecing together the puzzle of the Watts case, which wasn't easy, involving a lot of debating, sleepless nights, total anxiety, anger, and I'm not gonna lie, many tears. But the more obstacles I had to overcome, the more I was determined to bite into this case like a pit bull into a piece of meat until I get my answers. What started as a seemingly straightforward investigation quickly turned into a web of secrets, lies, and unexpected twists that challenged my perception and left me questioning the justice system and the very nature of the human psyche. In this documentary, I'll be putting back the curtain on the shocking revelations I uncovered during my exploration of this case. From unsuspecting suspects to hidden motives, each revelation will grip you, leaving you on the edge of your seat and wondering just how deep the rabbit hole goes. As longtime viewer of my content, you already know I'm committed to bringing you in-depth analysis and comprehensive coverage of the Watts case. And as much as I'd love to delve deep into every intricate detail, the nature of this case is such that it would take me hours if not days to cover it comprehensively. I understand that you, my amazing community, appreciate thorough explorations, and so do I. However, for the sake of keeping my documentary digestible, especially for the newbies to my Redix fam, and to respect your time, I'll be highlighting the key aspects and turning points of this horrific case. But fear not, if you're interested in a more depth exploration, if you want to find out how I was able to form a complete and accurate timeline of the Watts case down to the second, I encourage you to check out my series, The Timeline of Death. All the videos are linked in the description box below. Thank you for being an incredible part of my community, for your understanding and ongoing support. I appreciate each and every one of you for being part of this journey. Now get ready to immerse yourself in a true crime saga that will undoubtedly leave you questioning the thin line between fact and fiction. Let's jump into the heart of this case and unveil the shocking truth that lurks within the abyss.
Why did you let him kill me?
I want to acknowledge the weight that this first chapter carries. It's an investigation that touches on deeply personal and sometimes painful experiences, and I want to assure you that my exploration of this matter will be approached with the utmost respect, empathy, and sensitivity for the victims it deserves. This is not an attempt to exploit or sensationalize. Instead, it's an opportunity to shed light on an issue that, by its nature, may be shrouded in darkness. The possible motives of this crime are undeniably sensitive but crucial to address. By addressing the issue respectfully and understanding the gravity that holds for so many, I hope to contribute to a broader conversation and understanding surrounding this horrific case. Each person is unique, a combination of genetic, biological, psychological, and environmental factors influencing our behavior. There is no one-size-fits-all explanation for why people commit violent acts, and understanding the interplay of these factors is crucial. Mental health plays a significant role. However, mental health conditions are diverse, and their impact can vary widely. Moreover, not everyone with a mental health condition engages in crimes, and many individuals who commit the unthinkable do not have diagnosed mental health disorders. Understanding the motivations behind violent acts can be challenging. They may involve a combination of personal grievances, a desire for power or control, social influences, or internal and external pressures. Untangling these motivations require careful consideration of an individual's unique circumstance. Legal proceedings and investigations often focus on determining guilt and punishment rather than deeply understanding the root causes of criminal behavior. As a result, the criminal justice system may not fully address the complexities of why someone committed a crime, leaving the public with many questions. Media often sensationalizes violent acts, focusing on the dramatic aspects rather than exploring the underlying causes. Societal stigma and fear of individuals involved may contribute to a reluctance to delve into understanding the root causes in this case. This fear can hinder an open discussion and research on the complexities of this case. Every one of us has a different personality and methods to deal with problems. Our state of mind plays a huge role. Some just give up, some fight, some avoid confrontation for various reasons, and others take the ultimate step if there is, in their mind, no other way. While we can observe frustration and desperation elevating in Shanann's text messages and behavior during the last weeks of her life, we cannot say the same about Chris, and that is why most of us are having a hard time to believe that a seemingly quiet person would be able to commit or plan such a crime. The case of Chris Watts is a tragic and complex one, and while hindsight can sometimes reveal certain patterns or red flags, it's crucial to note that not all individuals who commit heinous acts exhibit warning signs. Many factors contribute to this, making it challenging for those around them to predict such actions. Here are a few reasons why warning signs might not have been readily apparent in Chris Watts' case. First, masking personal struggles. People can become adept at hiding their personal struggles, even from those closest to them. Chris Watts may have concealed his emotional turmoil behind a facade of normalcy, preventing friends and family from recognizing the depth of his internal struggles. Second, social stigma and a fear of judgment. There is often a social stigma attached to mental health issues, making it difficult for individuals to openly discuss their struggles. Fear of judgment, shame, or the desire to maintain a positive image may have deterred Chris Watts from seeking help or expressing his internal conflicts. Third, isolation and withdrawal. Individuals facing internal challenges may withdraw from social interactions, making it harder for friends and family to discern changes in behavior. The Chris Watts case reflects some instances of social withdrawal, but the extent and significance may not have been apparent until after the crimes. Fourth, masking personal issues in relationships. Even in close relationships, individuals may hide their true feelings or issues due to fear of conflict. The true depth of the issues between Chris and Shanann might not have been fully visible to those outside the relationship. Sixth, sudden escalation of issues. In some cases, individuals may appear stable until a sudden escalation of stressors or personal issues triggers a crisis. In the Watts case, the seemingly sudden and extreme nature of this crime may have caught those around him off guard. Seventh, the absence of a criminal record. Chris Watts did not have a prior criminal record, which might have contributed to the lack of warning signs. Individuals with no history of violence or criminal behavior can still engage in shocking and criminal acts. It's important to emphasize that understanding the motives and behaviors leading to such tragic events is highly complex. Mental health issues, relationship dynamics, and other contributing factors can interact in ways that are not easily discernible for most of us. Furthermore, individuals who commit crimes may deliberately hide warning signs, making it challenging for those around them to intervene or recognize potential danger. Authenticity is a rare and precious commodity. In a world that often celebrates success, beauty, and material wealth, it's not uncommon to encounter individuals who portray an image of having it all. Social media platforms are filled with meticulously curated snapshots of seemingly perfect lives, luxury vacations, designer outfits, and glamorous events. However, behind the glossy facade lies a truth that's often overlooked. In the age of constant connectivity, the pressure to conform to societal expectations can be overwhelming. People feel compelled to present an image of success, fearing judgment, the feeling of failure, or rejection if they reveal their struggles. This pressure has given rise to a phenomenon where individuals pretend to have everything, creating a facade that conceals the very real challenges and uncertainties they face. The allure of perfection has its consequences. Those who fall may find themselves trapped in a cycle of comparison, feeling inadequate in the shadows of others' apparent success. For those constructing the facade, maintaining the illusion can be a significant stressor. The fear of vulnerability and judgment keeps them from opening up about their true experiences. The isolation that accompanies this self-imposed secrecy can lead to internal struggles and mental health challenges, further emphasizing the gap between appearance and reality. Amidst the devastating loss of their lives, details emerged about the financial challenges Chris and Shanann faced. While it's important to approach such stories with sensitivity, understanding the financial aspect of their lives sheds light on the complex pressures individuals can experience. Chris and Shanann started their life together like many young couples, with dreams and aspirations. As with many families, financial struggles were a huge part of the Watts reality. Reports indicated that they faced significant debt including credit card balances and outstanding loans. Yet again, after filing for bankruptcy in 2015, where over $70,000 they owed were discharged. Juggling their responsibilities of parenthood, home ownership, and financial obligations undoubtedly added immense stress to their lives, to the point where they had to take out $10,000 of Chris's 401k, the retirement fund, to pay the mortgage they were 3 months behind with by April of 2018. The Homeowners Association fees, only around $50 a month, were not paid and summed up to an astonishing amount of over $1,500, prompting the HOA to start court proceedings against the couple. The Watts case serves as a reminder of the importance of financial literacy, open communication, and seeking assistance when facing financial hardships. Recognizing the signs of financial strain and addressing them proactively can contribute to healthier family dynamics. The Watts case also highlights the importance of open communication and support in navigating such challenges. External pressures combined with internal pressures can lead to decisions that may have lasting consequences. It's a chilling reality that financial difficulties, when left unaddressed and compounded by other stressors, can lead to extreme and unthinkable outcomes. Understanding the complex interplay between financial and emotional distress is crucial in this case. It's not uncommon for individuals to have different spending habits, but when one partner consistently overspends, it can strain the relationship. Ignoring the red flags, such as mounting debt, frequent purchases, or avoiding discussions about finances, as well as not telling your partner where the monthly expenses are going, may accelerate the issue. Combined with a lack of support, it can lead individuals down a dark path of desperation. The stress induced by financial difficulties can weigh heavily on one's life and can lead to a sense of hopelessness. As the pressure intensifies, individuals may feel cornered, with limited options for relief. The influence of social media can escalate financial pressures too. Shanann Watts, an avid user of platforms like Facebook, often shared glimpses of what seemed like an idyllic life, family outings, celebrations, and a home filled with love. However, the pressure to maintain a certain lifestyle, especially when facing financial strain, can create a rift between appearance and reality. We get an insight into Chris Watts' mind and how heavy their financial struggles weighed on him only hours after he took the life of his wife and daughters, when he was trying to cancel the getaway weekend at the Westin Snowmass Resort Shanann had booked for the two. The DA's version presented to the public was a different one. This is only one of many examples that law enforcement rather focused on the punishment instead of getting to the bottom of the different aspects on what may have contributed to this tragedy.
He was searching the internet for secluded vacation spots to take his new love in researching jewelry.
What about your financial stresses?
Yeah, the bankruptcy was something I never thought was going to happen. I think that was back in like 2015, 2016, something like that. I never thought that was going to happen. And I never thought, a lot of it was from the wedding because it's drawing credit cards. And so it was, and then the doctor bills from like, endoscopies, just like girls were seemed like they're sick like every month, like some type of ear infection, which to figure out was just like put the tubes in their ears and stuff. There was like different operations here, a couple overnight stays in the hospital for breathing and stuff like that. And so it was just, it all mounted up. I mean, I never thought it was that far gone, but
Was any of that from Shannon's neck surgery? Or were those bills pretty well paid up?
well, I think the bankruptcy never touched the medical part of it because you have to be like specify the medical part of it, medical bankruptcy, and then there's like regular bankruptcy.
Oh.
I don't think bankruptcy ever touches like student loans or medical stuff. You have to like be specific with that.
Okay.
But I think it just took away like a lot of the furniture that we had bought, and then a couple other things inside the house. Kind of alleviate a lot of the, it took we had to make the house payment by phone every month, and that was the bankruptcy skill like every time. And it's just like I didn't know how long it was going to take. But apparently, once you're in bankruptcy, it's pretty much you never get out of it. It seems it felt like.
Weren't you guys behind on your mortgage? When I talked to you?
Earlier in I think December 2017, and then January, February, March 2018. That's when I took the 40. We took the 401k out, the loan out to pay for that.
How was it that you were spending so much money for it?
Kids and just other bills that we had, and I mean, I knew the car was getting paid for by the bill. I never really asked to see. I didn't even have access to the bank account in my phone.
Oh.
So I never really asked to see what it looked like how far. But I just know she called me and told me, "Hey, can you pay the mortgage today?"
The HOA thing, what happened there?
She was mailing to the wrong address. They changed her address, and she mailed to the wrong address for a year. And we got a letter in the mail where we getting sued over it. We didn't pay our HOAs for a year, so we had to pay double for either a whole year or a couple months. That sucked.
We didn't know the money that she sent to the wrong address.
It's important to note that throughout the interview discussing the financial situation, Chris Watts automatically links his daughters to immense costs.
They're living above their means or below their means?
Oh my God,
way too much.
Way.
Did he ever discuss with you any of those issues?
I mean, a little. I mean, I didn't know about the bankruptcy or any of that till I read on the newspaper about that. But I think he was really frustrated with the situation. He told me, he's like, I feel like my paycheck goes in my bank account and I just watch it go like this. He's like, but it doesn't have to. He's like, she makes it like that. And I was just
was he resentful for that?
I don't know if he was resentful. I just think he was frustrated by the fact that they could be doing a lot better financially. And she, from the vibe that I got, had really bad spending habits. It was a lifestyle that she liked to live, very materialistic kind of lifestyle.
Wanted to project a certain image.
Yes, all the time. And he said that was why they got that house too. It's she wants everybody to think that we live a certain way and that we can sustain all this stuff. And he's like, and we can't. And I told him, I said, when you're in those situations, why don't you, I'm like, do you voice your concern about this? And he told me, he's like, when I try to talk to her, he's like, she's really bossy and she usually shuts me out. And he's like, when she does that, he's like, I just let it go. And I was just like, all right. I mean, I don't try to interfere with how those two interact. But I did ask about it because I'm just curious, because I would never put myself in a situation where someone was like, you know what, we're going to live in this house that costs double what we can afford, and that's how it's going to be because I want everybody to think we're fancy. Because I wouldn't do that. I mean, to me, I wouldn't put up with somebody doing that to me. And I'm not saying that that's what she was doing. I mean, for all I know, he could have been completely lying about this. He could be the one spending all the money.
Sure. This is just what he told you.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's as far as I can interpret it. So I can't be like, well, oh, she needs to do this and she needs to do that. But he voiced his concern where it's just financially, I'm in a very bad spot that I don't need to be in, but I'm stuck in. And that was kind of where he was at. So, but I mean, he was never mean when he talked about her. He was never hostile, nothing like that. He just, very calmly, this is the situation. And I think the only reason that he even provided me with that information is because I asked.
So after all we learned about their financial struggles, planning to have another child may seem irresponsible given their situation. Evidence suggests that Chris Watts and Shanann were experiencing difficulties in their marriage, perhaps considering separation before Shanann got pregnant with baby Nico. Navigating the challenges of life often prompts couples to seek creative solutions and forge a path forward. For some, the idea of planning another child becomes a beacon of hope that symbolizes a fresh start, a renewed commitment. In the journey of starting over, Planning another child provides opportunity to rediscover and reaffirm shared dreams. I thought another child would fix things, would help fix my feelings, is what Chris Watts said in his interviews. That statement made me think a lot. It's important to note that the motivations behind Shanann Watts consulting a lawyer, discussing divorce and custody laws as early as March or April of 2018, the combination of various factors likely played a role in her decision. Chris had already slept separated from Shanann in the basement, and he continued to do so during their stay in North Carolina and also when they came back home to Colorado.
And then she was like, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I sue people. So we kind of laughed about it. Shannon hears that. And she's still in this conversation. She hears it and she's like, you're a lawyer? I said, yeah. I said, yeah. She said, what type of law do you do? I said, everything but family. She said, why didn't you do family? And I said, because I just hate family law. I said, I've been through a divorce before in family court, and it's just a nightmare. She said, ooh, tell me more about that. So I'm telling her about how I got divorced here. Ex-wife moved with 3 kids to Tennessee. How I fought for the kids and how I spent so much money fighting for the kids. I said, okay, how old are they? She told me their ages. I think she said it was, I don't remember. Maybe one was close to 5. I don't know. 2? I don't know. But it was 2 girls. And I said, you thinking about divorce? And he's like, what? You're asking me this? And her friend, she smiled. Shannon smiles. But I did not get an answer to that question.
Have a good weekend.
And so I kind of let that kind of died away. We ate our food, and she seemed very curious about Colorado law on divorce that involves children.
Another indication is Shanann's 6-week getaway. She had never been apart from Chris for such a long period of time. North Carolina was where Shanann had a strong support system of family and friends. It may have served as a period of reflection, a separation trial if you will, away from Chris, who joined her only for the last week of the vacation.
What do you recall that he was saying about the situation as you kind of reflect back on it?
That I asked him, I asked him what was going on. I was like, dude, and he's like, well, he said he didn't know, but he said that they were struggling in their marriage, I guess. Mm-hmm. He said she went to North Carolina for like 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. They did I don't know if you want to call it a trial separation or whatever. Yeah. Oops, sorry, look at my radio. Turn it off. Some kind of trial separation for 5 weeks or something. Uh-huh. She got back. I guess they kind of talked and tried to work things out. I don't know the inner workings of why they're fighting. I don't. You don't know you didn't know what the difficulties in the marriage were. No, I have no idea. I don't ever. Everybody's got their own thing. I don't get involved in his.
We cannot be sure that a third child really was Chris's suggestion, or rather an agreement between the two with the intention to start over. Keep in mind that they both were great pretenders, not only hiding the issues of their marriage from the ones closest to them, but also from each other.
When you have kids and you have a relationship where people love each other, they fall out of love, connection, that having kids, you can bring a new baby into the equation, doesn't always work as well as keeping the couple happy and the kids happy. It almost is better if parents who are on different sides. Who is her? I don't want to get her involved in this. I don't want to ruin her life. It's something like this. I don't want her involved in this. Okay. So can we talk about that a little bit? Yes. I knew that you would say you didn't want to get her involved. Because she's a wonderful person. She knew I was married, yes. And that's why we were going through issues, yes. And I told her that, you know, we were going to get, you know, at the end, like, you're going to get separated. Like, once I figured out what that was, I didn't know what that was going to be.
I know.
I had no idea. I like, you know, I saw her, took my breath away, and I never thought in a million years that could happen.
I know.
I don't even think of a favorite. But like, it was, I never felt that way about anybody in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer the question whether or not Miss Kessinger knew about Shanann's pregnancy or Chris and Shanann's marital issues. Miss Kessinger would later turn out as being Chris's lover, personal financial advisor, real estate agent, nutritionist, aiding Chris Watts in all aspects of his lives. She even tried to convince Chris to take the opportunity in North Carolina to try and rekindle his marriage with Shanann. Wow, what a woman. And she did all this for him, even though she did not take their relationship that seriously, as she would later state in her interview. The mistress is still a hot topic that is widely discussed on various social media platforms. Dedicated NK groups desperately trying to find clues on whether or not the former girlfriend of Chris Watts knows more than she let on. And although I'm rather getting into the real important and relevant details concerning her knowledge, instead of investigating her reasoning for searching for wedding dresses for the millionth time, I do want to address some things before we will meet Miss Kessinger again later on in my documentary. We witnessed firsthand that nothing was as it seemed in the Watts household. On the verge of bankruptcy yet again, never-ending debts, growing frustration of Shanann, and growing anger from Chris. All efforts seem to have failed. The family was forgotten once Chris and his future mistress exchanged their first work-related email on June the 5th. But let's listen to their accounts on how they met.
I think I met him sometime in June, probably early June, it might have been May. It was just talking at work, it was pretty casual. And he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger. And every time I talked to him, he didn't tell me that he was in a relationship. He didn't even mention his kids right away either. And then one day he told me that he had 2 kids. I was like, that's pretty cool. And started telling me about his kids.
That sounded like a sarcastic comment.
No, I thought it was kind of cute. I was like, oh, he's a dad. It was like right around Father's Day too. So whenever that is in June.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm not good with holidays.
He told me he had kids, and then it was Father's Day shortly after that. So that's what I do now. And I was like, I thought it was cute. And then he's telling me about him. He's pretty excited about him. And then he mentioned that he did have a significant other. And then he told me that those 2 were in the process of a separation.
Did he mention the children's name or his significant other's name?
I didn't know his significant other's name for a while.
Take us through kind of a little bit of the early part of how he courted you or you courted him. I don't know which one happened. How you guys got to know each other.
I guess we just started talking. He actually, so part of my job is to manage the gas monitors that we have. So Anadarko requires all of their field personnel to carry gas monitor sensors for toxic gases, and it's my job to control the inventory and issues, anything like that. And we were having some pretty serious equipment issues, and we had numerous amounts of people coming in my office one day, and he happened to be one of them. And I'd seen him before, they meet in the lunchroom, and that's where I go put my lunch in the fridge. So I'd seen him, but I didn't ever talk to him. So that day we just started talking, and then every time I saw him in the hallway after that, it was always hit or miss. It wasn't an everyday thing. It was just when I saw him, we just started talking, and we just kind of had a lot in common and just hit it off. So we'd always have, pretty good conversation. Yes, that I have a wife, but we're getting separated.
It was probably around June 1st or something. That's when I first met her. And it was just a work conversation. She messed with the gas meters that were out in the field. And I was messing up, and then I took it to her hey, what's going on with this? How do I fix it? And, after that, we just ran into each other a few times in the office, and I think it was probably the 4th time meeting. She had asked me, because when we were talking back and forth I would say, like we moved here from Colorado or from North Carolina and stuff like that. And then she's like, "What's all this weed stuff?" I'm like, "Oh, I took out my phone and showed her a picture, like my girl's on the phone." It's like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "So you're like, yeah." Like, I didn't wear a ring to work because like I sent it off so I get refitted when I lost all that weight. So after that, she left me alone for a couple of days, and she texted me outside the field. And then after that, we just kept texting back and forth, and it was just it's like she used to work in a little rig out in North Dakota, I think. And we just kind of trading the stories back and forth about what we did and everything. And then one day it just kind of went to a different level. And then I never thought I would ever go to that level. But she was talking about meeting up after we got back from San Diego. Yeah, we were in San Diego from the 22nd to the 26th of June. And we met up after we got back. And
how did you guys meet up?
At a park in Thornton. Thornton somewhere. And after that, we just kept seeing each other.
Chris had changed his mind. She had changed his mind. What started out as a harmless flirt, a new beginning, away from his wife and children, turned into a nightmare. Chris opened up to Kessinger, mentioned that he felt like there was no connection between him and his wife anymore. Kessinger knew about the financial hardships as well. Kessinger was taking him places, camping, the speedway, candlelight dinners, the museum, all right up his alley. It's not uncommon that a breakdown in communication or a loss of emotional connection within the marriage may drive individuals to seek connection with others who they believe can understand and empathize with them. He would later describe her as the Jezebel, revealing some of her lies in a letter. Back then, the first thing that came to my mind was, why didn't investigators ask Kessinger why she searched for Shanann and Chris as early as 2017? The answer is they couldn't. Before law enforcement received Kessinger's phone data in its entirety in October of 2018, Chris already signed a plea agreement and pled guilty to all charges. District Attorney Rourke soon found himself in need of explanation after his office received numerous media requests concerning those early searches. Amanda Purcell, the records supervisor, quickly brushed it off as being a typo, but was soon overwhelmed with the situation and referred to the DA's office for further explanation. It's not a typographical error in the report. The detectives are reporting what was contained in the data from her phone. I don't know the answer to the question of why or how those dates ended up in her phone. We did not get to the point in our investigation of attempting to independently verify that or not, because Chris Watts pled guilty. When you ask me if I have verified that information, the answer to your question is no. Nicole Kessinger told us that she met and started the relationship with the defendant in 2018. So where that anomaly come from, I can't answer you. I don't know the answer to it. Employed by Anadarko as a health, safety, and environmental representative, Kessinger's main job was to look after the operator's gas monitors and take care of environmental issues such as oil leaks. Even Kessinger thought it might be a good idea to work with the prosecution before they got the chance to investigate any further. And after giving her bombshell information that ultimately led Chris Watts to take a plea agreement where he admitted his guilt on all charges, the prosecution comes out and tells us that they did not even have her phone data to prove the connection or involvement in this case until mid-October. But since Chris already signed the plea agreement, there was no need for any further investigation. So what exactly was the bombshell information she provided? I mean, this girl pretended to know nothing about nothing. Not even Shanann's name, or that Chris was still married. There are many things law enforcement missed to ask the mistress. For example, why her phone would ping the morning of the murders, or why she did not talk to Chris on the phone that morning, as she did every day since they met. The district attorney's office stated that she was cleared and that there is no reason to believe she had anything to do with the murders or with a conspiracy to commit murder in any shape or form. She was cleared even before law enforcement received all her phone data. She was cleared as soon as August the 15th after calling and meeting with the FBI in a nearby park. She came out with bombshell information that ultimately cleared her of every involvement. Throughout my documentary, I will give you a good idea of what the bombshell information might have been about.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm really trying to help you guys. I need you guys to help me too. Like,
Yes,
we'll
ma'am.
do this as a team. Just don't
So,
fucking let me down.
People often Google individuals they have a crush on, out of curiosity and a desire to learn more about them. It's a natural way to gather information, find common interests, and assess compatibility. Online searches can provide a quick glimpse into the person's life, interests, and activities, helping to satisfy curiosity and potentially serve as a conversation starter. Overthinking and overinterpreting can sometimes lead us away from the straightforward reality of a situation. It's a reminder to approach things with clarity and not let our minds create complexities that might not exist. The truth, more often than not, can be found in simplicity.
I'm just so sad.
It's just
like
not
this
good
is
in
like
their best
the
interest.
job of all jobs I've ever had in my life, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
fucked it up.
Well, so you've been out in the field. What, you've been home 3 months of the year on an average in staggered amount out in the middle of nowhere on oil rigs.
Yes, I went to the house, and the first time I was there, I hung out in their like front living room. I just sat on the floor, and it was on the 4th of July. It was the morning of the 4th, and I was helping him to set up my MyFitnessPal app and like track his food, his calories and stuff, because he does pretty good with the working out and stuff. And he asked me, he's like, "Can you help me just like get this dialed in?" He's like, "Yeah, I can do that." So that he invited me up to the house, and I was already kind of hesitant to do it because I was like, there are other people that live here, and I just felt like it was an invasion of space. And so I went up there, and we just stayed in that front room, and I helped him out with that, and got him all set up with that. And then, he asked me if I wanted lunch, and he grilled chicken and carrots. And then that's all he had. And I was like, okay, so we ate, and then I left.
Chris's account of events is a very much different one.
When she realized that, okay, like she's the other person in the relationship, that I'd always put my wife first over her, and that's what kind of made her take a step back a few times, and then like I had to kind of like calm her down.
Tell me about those times. What'd that look like?
So the first one was probably around July 4th when I had to leave her house. She wanted to kind of spend most of the day together before she went to like a baseball game or something. And like when I had to leave, it kind of just made her like kind of take a step back and wonder what she was doing. And I just told her like, hey, just because of what's going, like just because I had to leave doesn't mean like you have to just take a step. I was like comforting her at some point. I don't even know why I was doing it. Maybe I knew I was too far gone at that point. But
So what did she say to you, Nikki?
she was in the shower and she said okay. And then that's like when I talked about I calm her down. It's she's on the phone.
And was she like, we're breaking up, like we're not gonna, I can't do
No,
this?
she said like she didn't want to, like she didn't think it was safe or it was good for us to see each other anymore that day, like the rest of that day, just because of all that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And she asked me to come over like later on after she got back from her baseball game.
Despite her effort to convince investigators that she had stressed the idea to try and get Chris to fix his marriage with Shanann, we observe a very different behavior of Miss Kessinger. She almost seemed to have developed some sort of obsession with being Chris's number one. As Chris stated in a letter to a prison pen pal, Nikki probably realized that, and he had calmed her down a few times, before she later came to his house with the ruse she wanted to help him create a healthy diet plan. Kessinger employed sex as a manipulative tool for seeking forgiveness for her outburst earlier in the day. What should be a genuine and consensual connection becomes tainted by her ulterior motives. Throughout the 4th of July celebrations he spent with his friends Nick and Amanda, she sent him rather delicate messages and images given his replies. That will not be the last time we see Kessinger using coercive tactics aimed at achieving personal gain.
So the second time I went,
August?
July. I don't know if it was the 14th or the 15th. One of those 2 days. But we had went out and we stopped there just real quick on the way back. And we were there not very long. But that time I saw a picture of his wife and one of his kids. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, she's so beautiful. And I like took a step back and I was just like, this man has a gorgeous house. He has beautiful babies. He has a beautiful wife. He has an awesome job. Like, why would he want to leave this? And I remember talking to him about it, and that was the first time that I tried to actually say, what do you think about not separating from your wife? Like, what if you really try to work on this? And he had expressed to me that we've tried to work on this, and it's not working, so that is why we're separating. And I spent some time, like, just, you know, kind of, because it almost made me feel bad, where I was, like, to the point where I'm engaging in a relationship with a man who, the way he described it, is in a contractual agreement, but was not in like an emotional relationship with somebody. And for me, the way I would have preferred to do this is to have waited till that contractual agreement was also done, and he was done. And he could have approached me and said, I'm just had a divorce, you know, maybe we could take this slow, what do you think? But instead it was, oh, we're separated and we're working on a divorce. And that is the part that I feel bad about, because I should have waited on that, and I didn't. And, you know, I was just like, well, they're already there, so, you know, but then being in that house was just like, why? Fix this. Find a way to fix this. Make it work, you know? And I was like trying to push him to do it, and he seemed pretty reluctant to do it. He didn't want to. And, I don't know, we were still seeing each other fairly frequently, but I kind of like backed away so we weren't hanging out quite as much, and we were still close, but it was just like I really wanted him to try. Like, I wanted to know that he tried and it didn't work, and then he moved on, not that, you know, they both kind of tried and then he got himself into a situation with somebody else. And I don't know, I just thought he had a beautiful life going on, and he could have made it work.
Chris Watts has two versions of what happened that day. When questioned at the Dodge Correctional Facility in Wisconsin, February 2019, he strictly denied that Kessinger knew about Shanann's pregnancy. The word no comes shooting out of him, unlike the otherwise soft, shaky voice when relating irrelevant events to agents.
At one point she said, I'd like to give you a son.
Well, did she know that Shanann was pregnant with a boy?
No.
Did she know Shanann was pregnant?
No.
And why is that? You just didn't tell her?
I didn't know. Like, because we had met.
But she didn't put that on Facebook.
That's
how did she not see that?
I don't know. Maybe she did. She just waited for me to tell her, or she put it on her head. How about your Facebook account?
You deleted that at some point. When did you do that? Why?
I think it was, got back August 7th. I think it was probably August 8th. That's when I think he told me she told her friends about me. And I just figured, you know, they probably looked me up on Facebook and see that she was pregnant. If Nikki already found it, he was probably already, but I did that.
What he just said made zero sense. He deleted his Facebook account in August because he was concerned Kessinger's friends would look him up and find out Shanann was pregnant, but was not one bit concerned his girlfriend would see that in June or July. No, Chris. Kessinger knew Shanann was pregnant all along, and because she was afraid her friends would see her boyfriend's wife, Shanann, was being pregnant with your son, she ordered you to delete Facebook. And not only that, she asked you to file a termination with Facebook and not just deactivate your account. His second version of events that day originated from a letter he wrote to a pen pal. It states, Dieter led her upstairs. She came back down with this frozen look on her face like, I told her, Shanann and I had been actively trying for another child before we met. She freaked out, like, yelled at me, stormed out of the house, sat in her truck, texting me for 30 minutes. She said she got mad because she thought she could give me my first son. The search for dioptase in the evening hours of July the 14th, the day Kessinger offered to give him his first son, caught my undivided attention. Apart from being a geologist and fascinated with crystals and gemstones, Kessinger also owned a business named Satya Consulting, dissolved in March 2019. Although details of the exact purpose of her company are widely unknown, it has been said that she offered spiritual consultation. Satya is a Sanskrit word that translates to truth in English. In various Indian philosophical and spiritual traditions, including Hinduism and Buddhism, Satya holds deep significance. It is one of the ethical principles, virtues, emphasizing the importance of truthfulness and honesty. This is where Chris Watts' search for dioptase comes into play. His excessive research plays a huge role.
Let's take a closer look at the dioptase mineral. Dioptase was first documented and named by René Just Houy, a French mineralogist and founding father of crystallography. He is also responsible for the names of many minerals, including actinite, amphibole, axonite, sphene, dysthene, kyanite, amongst many others. The formation of dioptase requires warm and dry conditions, hence it is mined in arid places. Due to the intensity of its color, dioptase is also used as a pigment in painting. The use of dioptase as a green pigment can be traced back to Neolithic times. Dioptase is a stone of forgiveness and letting go of past wrongs. In essence, it is the physical embodiment of the old adage that being angry is like poisoning yourself and hoping the other person dies. Dioptase will help you come to terms with the fact that whatever anger you are carrying around with you because of past wrongs will only end up injuring you, rather than the people that you were angry at. Similarly, often we can feel as though life itself is out to get us in some way, or that we have been cheated out of those things that we really worked hard for. We might look around us and see that others have the life we dreamed of, or have to sacrifice our needs and wants for some greater good. Dioptase can help to soothe the anger and resentment created by those moments just as readily as it does being upset with other people. It can also shine a light on higher perceptions of certain events that may have led to these feelings, and help you to avoid unnecessarily ruminating on circumstances beyond your control. If you've become a touch cynical, this crystal can help you to see the joy in things once again. In other words, dioptase is a stone that can help you connect with your true self and soul. It will help you become unstuck from the people and situations that you have been having difficulty forgiving, and move on with your life to achieve higher spiritual calm and a sense of serenity that will help you improve your life. Over the course of the days, weeks, or years that we dedicate to quietly resenting or being annoyed at others, that part of your mind could have been put to so many other uses. Dioptase is safe for you to carry around, but because its high percentage of copper, it would be toxic if you drink, eat, or inhale portions of the gemstone. Ingesting dioptase can cause serious health problems and will reverse its original effect into something quite the opposite.
While dioptase, the crystal of forgiveness, can help getting anger issues and aggressions under control, the powder especially should not be underestimated. Ingesting or inhaling large amounts of copper, as present in dioptase, can lead to copper poisoning. Symptoms may include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, blurred vision, and in severe cases, liver and kidney damage. Inhaling mineral dust, including dioptase powder, can irritate the respiratory system. It may lead to coughing, shortness of breath, and other respiratory symptoms.
So one thing I just wanted to clarify, you said she got sick when he showed up in North Carolina?
Yeah,
right?
well, it was that night. I don't know. We ate dinner, and he's on one side, she was on the other, but it's the table's up against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just the way it is, because there's not much room at Mom's kitchen. And, I was like, I bet you guys missed each other, you guys have fun tonight, and they're like, yeah, but I don't know. Now that I look at it, I kind of see it, but then I didn't
register.
I didn't think anything of it at all. And, I don't know. She just, I was in my room watching TV. It was about maybe 2 a.m, and I don't really know. It was late. Everyone was sleeping, and I heard something going on, and I went and peeked. I don't know if it was the girls or her, and I was like, "Hey, you all right?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "I'm just sick." And I said, "Was it pregnancy stuff?" And she was like, "Yeah, probably." And she said, "I'm dehydrated." And that's what she sent one of her girlfriends, and she actually made a post saying she was dehydrated here in the South, but she's not. She drinks water like she's like no one's business, really. It's constantly, and she eats nothing but vegetables. And I have a garden in North Carolina. I was constantly getting her cucumbers and my peppers, and she'd make salads and things. And she's always healthy, always nut with that, and keeping the baby healthy. That was her main thing, And I was like, "Do you need anything? Can you take anything?" She was like, "No, I can't really take anything." I was like, "That stinks, I said, "Well, what can I do?" She said, "It's just okay. I'll let you know." And she asked me for shorts. I gave her shorts. It's actually the pair I brought with me. I wear them. But, I think I checked her 2 or 3 times, and I was just making sure she was okay. I'd peek around the corner on the couch, make sure she was okay.
On July the 15th, a Sunday, Chris Watts was doing some strange stuff. Before I continue, I have to note, Chris Watts sometimes entered and left the house through the basement window to prevent Shanann from receiving alerts on her Vivint app that could easily reveal that he was spending most of the nights with his mistress and not at home. The garage door sensor wasn't working. Shanann told Chris 9 days prior on July the 6th to, and I quote, "call Vivint before I flip." Watts never called Vivint and lied to Shanann, saying Vivint would send them a new garage door sensor. There is no evidence that Shanann and Chris spoke on the phone about the garage door sensor on July the 15th. However, Watts called Vivint and held a 20-minute conversation with them. Now he does something really strange. During the phone call with Vivint, he took 3 images of his basement from different perspectives to capture the layout. Roughly 4 hours later, at 4:35 p.m., he went back into the basement to take another 3 pictures from different perspectives. The Watts house was equipped with the basic Vivint security system. It comes with 2 motion sensors and 4 door sensors. There were no sensors on the windows and no interior cameras. One of the motion sensors was located on the wall of the right corner of the front room. The other motion sensor was located in the basement right under the stairs. The door sensors were located at the back patio door, the garage door, the door leading to the mudroom, and the door to the basement. The sensors, both motion and door sensors of the basement, were working just fine. So why Chris Watts would be on the phone with Vivint in the basement, supposedly calling because of a garage door sensor, I cannot explain. What I can explain, however, is that everything Chris Watts does happens for a reason or serves a purpose, even if it's not readily apparent. Taking images of the basement layout as well as the location of sensors, will play a role later in this documentary. I should mention that Watts and Kessinger weren't exchanging any phone calls that day, which is odd. From this day on, Watts includes Kessinger in his daily morning call routine. He often calls her even before he calls Shanann. July the 16th just started as strange as the day prior ended. Arriving at the Anadarko office in Platteville that morning, Watts takes 3 pictures from the Anadarko office building, one of which was a sunflower, what appeared to be near his work truck. It's said that his girlfriend liked sunflowers and he might have taken that picture for her, but what scenery the other 2 images showed remain a mystery and is not revealed in the discovery files. He resumed his search for Dave Bunk minerals. There are no phone calls registered between Kessinger and Watts that day, apart the one in the early morning. When I listened to Chris Watts' interview, I caught on his effort trying to steer the conversation away or divert attention, overemphasizing a seemingly innocent act, saying he was always helping whenever he was needed. To compensate for perceived guilt and premeditation, he states that he was out at the survey field several times, last with a foreman who was showing him around when he was still a rover.
While you're on that subject, back up the night before, you had some text messaging about going out there. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that was, I think, Friday that we had figured out there was a spill out there from like his old site, set up a little different. So what had happened was there was a downcomer and then there's a side comer going into those oil tanks, and one of the downcomers is tied into a back pressure line that split. Every time it was dumping oil, it was split underground and the oil was coming up out of the ground. And we decided just to go out there on Monday because it was Friday and he had like switched it out already. Either he shut it in or he switched lines or he covered it up and see if it was going to come back or not.
Okay. And then that's more specifically, you talked or your text about how you would go out there and take care of it.
Yeah, I was going to take care of it for him because I've gone out there plenty of times.
Okay.
I used, when another guy was out there as part of another foreman, he showed me around out there like a year or so ago and I just got familiar with the place.
And so that was a genuine.
Yeah,
that wasn't a pre-alibi. No.
But there's a lot of people that said that you wouldn't normally do that.
Normally help somebody?
No, like a field to your position, not you specifically, but your position doesn't do that kind of stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Like when I was a rover and to a field coordinator, I still tried to do everything I used to do.
Okay.
So that's still like I wasn't good at delegating stuff. I just used to do stuff on my own. Or just like taking care of it for somebody else.
Right.
I wasn't good at the whole like, hey, you go do this, you go do that, while I sit over and
well, you see what it looks like to us.
I know. Like,
when they came up, we're like
making
plans to be out there, that day.
I know.
But that's not what it was. That was natural.
No. I was just asking to help them.
When I heard that, I knew he was trying to hide something that I haven't found in the data at the time, but I was sure whatever it was warranted my undivided attention, and I'm glad I dug into it. Here's what I found. According to the data and documents, the survey battery fields were not Chris Watts' usual responsibility. He was mainly operating the batteries in the Fort Lupton area. The crew working survey on a more regular basis was the one of his close friends and co-worker Troy's team. He stated that a foreman showed him around out there, and I did not find any evidence that he went back thereafter. But on July the 17th he returned. He went to 4 different survey batteries. And arrived at the first one, the survey 629, by 9:27 a.m. Thereafter, he went to the survey 1029, where he stayed the longest. After that, to the survey 1129. Before leaving the last battery, the survey 719, at 12:04 p.m. The critical aspect was not his visit to the survey fields. What intrigued me was the number of pictures he captured during only a brief visit at each site. He took a total of 12 images, focusing on trees and wildflowers in an open prairie. Although he had been to multiple oil battery sites that day, he specifically chose Survey to take these pictures rather than any other site he visited. Upon returning to his primary location in Fort Lupton, Watts purchased new work boots and captured a photo of them. They were discovered in Shanann's Lexus rather than his work truck. Kessinger's actions and behavior on July the 18th mirror that of a clearly obsessed, possessive individual. One phone call in the morning wasn't enough anymore. Now it had to be 2 to 3 phone calls before Chris left for work. She clearly tried to prevent Chris from changing his mind by being constantly on his mind, using manipulative tools such as sending him semi-nudes or nude images of herself, as well as calling him in between phone calls he had with his wife Shanann, leaving creepy voicemails. Behavior like this is absolutely calculating and does not happen by chance. Watts transferred some of Kessinger's images into a secret calculator app she introduced to him for the first time.
Was Shanann checking your phone, or?
She always had my phone.
She was checking your phone? So how did you get past that?
I use the work phone.
To text? And you had some secret apps, right?
That was on my personal phone.
Were you using anything else to have contact with her?
I just texted her with my work phone. And like when Shanann, the kids went to North Carolina, she used my personal phone. She just told me like to put pictures in an app, and I just found that calculator. I just put, just searched on the app store like hidden pictures, and this calculator app first popped up.
When Watts came home that day, he did not immediately go into the house. He sat in his work truck in front of the house during 2 phone calls with Kessinger. When he finally went in, he wasn't being left alone for long. When Kessinger called him at 4:34 p.m., he didn't pick up right away, and the call went to voicemail.
Hi. It's me. I miss your face. I was just calling to say hi. Call me back. Bye.
He called her back 6 minutes later, and the two held another 11-minute phone conversation. If you take a close look at her phone bill, you can see that she pinged in Frederick during both of these calls. What a stalker! The next few days were filled with excitement for Watts. There was always something he and his new love did together. It was a new experience, he would later state. They went out for steak dinner, the speedway, camping, drank beer, red wine, and visited the Cheesecake Factory. Watts even searched for classes in Spanish dancing and bought his girlfriend something nice at Victoria's Secret. All paid for by gift cards he earned from Anadarko for doing a good job. $500 split between 3 gift cards. And Watts knew how to budget. He carefully monitored his expenses, checking the prepaid center sometimes more than once daily to make sure he has enough money left for his upcoming trip to the sand dunes. No wonder he forgot he had a family. Kessinger kept him pretty busy. Watts still ignored most of Shanann's phone calls, and if he picked up, he always had an excuse why he was so busy. On one occasion, he had spoken with Shanann on the phone, and she texts him 2 hours later if he was even alive, because he had not texted her back. Watts told her that the tire light came on the night prior, and he had to check them out. Had Shanann told her mom about this, I'm sure she would have told her daughter that Watts was using an excuse because she had been on the phone with him for about half an hour. As she often does, when Chris is on the phone with Shanann, Kessinger left another creepy voicemail.
Hi. It's me. You guys just call me back when you have a chance. Bye.
There are not many details discussed about the sand dune trip. We only have a few images and some videos documenting their stay. It is evident that Chris trusted NK and confided to her that the marriage with Shanann started to fall apart about 2 years ago. In a 10-page letter to authorities, the mistress remembered what Chris had told her. I asked him when Shanann and he had decided to separate. He told me late March, early April 2018. I asked if he still lived with her, and he told me yes. Said that when she was home, he slept in a different room, and when she was gone, he would occasionally sleep in the master bedroom, but not frequently because the bed was so uncomfortable. I asked him why he decided to separate from her. He said that she was bossy, and I asked him what he meant. He responded that she was controlling, said that they really don't argue much though, said that once many years ago he attempted to stand his ground with her and she told him get out of my house and made him leave for a night. He said that he tried to avoid arguments ever since. He said that if him and Shanann disagreed, she would make nasty comments to him and he would just ignore them. I asked if she talked like that in front of his kids and he said yes. My kids started to repeat her words and that's why I wanted the separation. He said that he would tell his children that it was not nice to say that to anybody. I asked Chris if Shanann was bossy in front of his friends and he said that Shanann was all about appearances in all aspects of her life and that in front of her friends she was occasionally bossy, but she would turn it into kind of a joke so that it was more discreet. I asked him how long the communication breakdown between them had been going on and he said 6 years and that the last 2 years had been the worst. I asked him if he had tried to communicate with her and he said he tried many times but it fell on deaf ears. Chris told me that some nights he would still hang out next to the bed in the master bedroom with her and would try to talk to her or spend time with her until she falls asleep. Chris told me that the other reason he was separating from her was because Shanann hated that he liked to work out and eat healthy. He said that before they decided to separate, Shanann would get mad at him if he tried to go for a run at night once the kids were in bed. He said that Shanann felt it took away from the time they should be spending together. Chris said it was frustrating. When he would try to hang out with her, she didn't pay attention to him and wouldn't talk to him. She would talk on the phone or scroll through social media instead. Chris said that many times he would try to talk to Shanann and she would not acknowledge him and instead would reply with, "Were you talking to me? Because I wasn't listening to you." Chris also told me that Shanann had asked him numerous times to take pictures of them pretending to run together so that she could post it on social media, but she wouldn't actually go for a run with him. He said he started to wake up early in the morning and to wait lifts because it was something he did every day and he didn't want his routine to interfere with his time with the kids. Chris said that his health was very important to him and he wished that Shanann would have been more supportive and not upset about it.
Carve it up. There you go, baby. You're so damn sexy.
Thank you so much for coming out here with me, Christopher. I am having a wonderful time. You mean a lot to me, and I'm glad that you're having a blast. I am so out of breath.
The sunset at the sand dunes, the laughter echoing through the mountain trails, happy moments captured in pictures of a delightful short trip. However, the serenity was about to face a stark contrast as the mundane reality of everyday life collided with the euphoria of Watts and Kessinger's little holiday. Yet it was the quiet entrance into the familiar surroundings of home that truly set the stage for the impending financial reckoning. Bills arrived like unexpected guests. The reality of responsibilities, temporarily forgotten, kicked back in. Credit card payments due, the mortgage still not paid, and here comes Shanann sending Watts the insurance bill for her Lexus. And if that wasn't enough to worry about, he was confronted with yet another medical bill that might have come in the near future. Shanann sent Watts an image of one of their daughter's ankles with the remark she might need special shoes. On top of that, Watts had no money left on his Anadarko gift cards. But all of that didn't seem to count. Watts reminisced about Kessinger, about the good times with her that make him forget about all the bills and the issues he has with his family. Instead of trying to find a solution, he searched the internet for love songs, love letters, and when to say I love you. What does someone feel when you say I love you? And how do you feel when someone says I love you? Chris started his day on July the 31st early. He left the house before 3 a.m. in the morning to get to the airport on time. He documented every step he was taking and reported back to Shanann. At airport, he quickly transfers 53 pictures and 2 videos of Kessinger and himself into his secret calculator app. After boarding, he tells Shanann he's on the plane and she immediately calls him. With concerns about the high-priced parking arrangements at the airport, she texts him. "You never ever listen to me." She asked, "How much a day?" Chris sent her the photograph of the parking signs nearby. 16. Shanann asked which lot and he replied, "The East Economy." Shanann replied, $130 we can't spend at the beach. While on the plane, Chris resumed his preparations to hide his affair with NK by deleting her contact information on his phone.
Hey! Hey! Airplane! I know.
Despite their argumentative stay in North Carolina, Chris managed to speak to NK, daily transferring images of her into the secret calculator app while the family visited Myrtle Beach and the trampoline park.
You know, like when the whole thing with my parents happened, with my parents called it gate. Nut gate. What's that?
Oh,
The peanut.
Oh, yeah. Oh, with her family?
Yeah.
Pistachio ice cream or whatever.
Yeah, somebody call it nut.
I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that either.
I guess what people call it. Okay. But that was like another out. Like, you know, maybe I could have just like stopped everything and just kind of concentrated on helping like whatever happened there. Because like, Shanann had a story, my mom had a story. You know, whatever happened, I'd probably ask my 10-year-old nephew. Probably can tell me what actually happened.
Well, and they both have their feelings for good reasons, and they both didn't see it the other person's way. And
yeah, and like maybe I did talk to my parents from then on until like August 6th, and like, you know, my dad took that whole week off.
You didn't talk to your parents from then on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because like Shanann was like, do not talk to them, do not call them, do not do anything.
Is that what she said?
Yeah, and Cece's birthday was 17th, but I think the actual birthday party was like a couple days after.
In August?
July.
Yeah.
And like my mom, my dad was gonna go, but then there was like a post on Facebook about, you know, allergies and stuff like that Shanann made, and I was like, no, I just can't do it anymore. It's like
He perceived that as her taking a shot type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
She always says she never, you know, put those posts directed at anybody, but she had a method.
If you read them, you know who she's talking about.
She had a method to the madness, and you can see it. Mm-hmm. But I wish I could have just took more time just to fix that. Because like I wanted my parents to be involved. Like since, you know, like the whole wedding thing, and then up to that, it was like my mom, my sister were always like combating with Shanann, combating with them. My dad was always cool. He's just like me. He's just like, you know, go with the flow. Like, I just want everybody to get along type deal.
She
I
expanded.
loved your dad.
Oh, he's the best.
Isn't he? I
So-
loved your dad.
I'm sorry, keep going.
I just wish I could have, like, when we were in the beach in August. Like, my dad was supposed to take the whole week off just so we could see the kids, like, see me, like, we have a cookout at my sister's house or something. And then, but we just pretty much spent 5 days at the beach. Shanann, like, booked it, so, like, I mean, I don't want to say, like, punishment for them not to see the kids, but, like, I wanted them to see it, I wish I could have fixed all that. I even, like, when I was at the beach, I told Shanann that it was more like what was going on was more like, I feel like, you know, my dad's not here, I feel like I've lost, like, something in my life. I haven't been talking to him for 3 weeks. And I've been seeing the kids for 2 weeks, you know, FaceTime or anything. And I wanted them to be able to have that relationship. And she was pretty much gung-ho, like, she tried to my daughter, like, give her. I was like, that's when I called my mom and talked to them for a while, and then they're just like, you know, we just couldn't deal with her anymore. And just kind of like, you know, they like flipped out. My nephew told Bella to go hide behind the curtain because I don't think your mom was going to let you come over here again or something like that.
So it got heated.
Oh, it was bad.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a last straw between them, I think.
Like in the same room or over the phone?
No, they were at
They were
my
really
mom's house. Yeah, but Cece and Bella and my niece and nephew were there.
Okay.
Back home in Colorado, the weight of recent arguments and impending decisions were pressing Shanann and Chris. The echoes of heated exchanges with his wife Shanann reverberated in Chris's mind. Their marriage was hanging by a thread, frayed by years of neglect. As we peer into the complex web of emotions, it becomes evident that the choices made in the coming days will shape not only Chris's fate, but also the destinies of his family. Shanann confiding in her friends, losing hope that her marriage can be rekindled. Watts did talk, but it was not at all what she expected him to say. He told her he wanted a divorce. Well, he told her his way, being hesitant. Watts has an extreme inability to just say things as they are. There was not a lot of opportunity to speak with Chris about the situation. He continued to sleep in the basement. In the midst of this emotional roller coaster, Shanann asked Watts if he would want to find out the baby's gender at tonight's ultrasound. And he said yes, even though she would not tell her friends. But his reply must have signaled the beginning of healing, a chance to rebuild the foundation that once seemed unshakable. He pretends to be looking forward to the ultrasound, evident in a text message from a friend. That's what great pretenders do, pretending. And Watts was pretty good at it. But before he drove home, he made a quick detour to see his new girlfriend, who was probably already waiting eagerly for him. We can only guess what the two were discussing, but based on her internet searches, we get a good idea of what they might have been talking about. The ultrasound did not go that well, as Shanann writes to her friends. She tried to grab his hand and Chris wouldn't grab back. Considering where he just came from, no surprise. Things seemed to turn for the better when Chris and Shanann had a talk that night. Chris finally agreed to couples counseling and to go away for a weekend. Just them. Shanann sent him some hotel links to look at and he immediately checked them out. Aspen it is. She told her friends that they had a good talk with each other, that Chris is kind of the old Chris again. Still very distant, but at least she got a kiss before he went to sleep in the basement. Was he finally coming to his senses? Or was Chris Watts just a great pretender after all? I always try to create objective, unbiased, fact-driven content. I hesitate to give final conclusions and moreover force an opinion. However, at this point I have to let my thoughts out. Kessinger knew how to influence him so much that he forgot his family. I think if Shanann hadn't gone to Arizona, Nikki would have had limited opportunities to manipulate Chris further. As I combed through the record interviews of the witnesses involved, a subtle but significant pattern began to emerge. The details provided by different individuals did not align. It wasn't merely a matter of perspective or interpretation, it was a palpable mismatch in the narratives. Inconsistencies ranged from conflicting timelines to variations in key events and descriptions. What initially seemed like a straightforward part of the case now demanded a meticulous examination of each statement to discern the truth buried beneath the layers of contradiction. Understanding why witnesses diverge in their accounts is sometimes complex. Factors such as stress, trauma, and memory limitations can contribute to inconsistencies. However, the possibility of deliberate deception also looms large, which added another layer of complexity to my investigation. With that being said, let's bring Chris Watts' co-worker and friend into this mess for a minute. Watts met up with Troy on Friday, August the 10th. Watts handed Troy a Fire Stick over with the intention to jailbreak the device in order to watch free programs on TV. Troy describes in his interview that he met Chris at the Safeway parking lot in Fort Lupton, texting him that would be the closest to the location he was working at. But let's listen to Troy's accounts for a second.
Start with on Sunday. So Sunday would be the 12th.
Yes.
Did you talk to Chris at all on the 12th?
I didn't speak to him over the weekend. I seen him on Friday.
Seen him on Friday. So that was the last time you saw him before the work week.
Yes.
Okay.
I seen him on Friday, and he'd taken off Friday to take Shanann to the airport for Phoenix.
Okay.
And then he told me he wanted me to look at his Fire Stick that he bought. I said, okay. So
like TV Fire Stick?
Yeah,
okay.
Amazon Fire Stick.
Sure.
So before the workday ended on Friday, he's told me that he'd meet me at the Safeway parking lot there in Fort Lupton. And he showed up in their Lexus, and Bella and Cece were in the back seat. So he jumped out, gave me the Fire Stick, and right after he gave me the Fire Stick, that's whenever Cody called. Cody Roberts, the operator of the Service 319, and said that he thought there was a leak in the bypass line.
And that's on 319, you said?
Yes, the Service 319.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Because that bypass line is now locked and tagged out because we done that Monday morning.
Okay, so Bella
and Cece. Or
Cece.
Yeah.
Cece were in the back seat.
Yes, sir.
And was Shanann?
No, sir.
Was she in the front?
Taken her to the airport.
You already took her there?
Yes.
Do you remember what time this was?
I can look back to my text messages I gave you because he told me he was sitting by the 5.0. There was an orange Mustang sitting in the parking lot.
Okay.
I think it was one of the ladies that, well, it looked just like the one I used to have. Because I had a red one. I was telling you about that earlier.
Yeah.
So, and he's a huge Ford guy because he was a master mechanic.
Yeah, I remember he said something about that.
Sorry.
No problem.
Thanks. Forward your link. You just sent it there. Okay, right here. It's at 3:05.
Okay.
Just whenever he sent me the text message, here parked next to the orange 5.0.
Okay.
So.
And he's driving the white Lexus?
Yes, sir. And Bill and Cece were both in the back. They were buckled up in their car seat. And he had pulled forward in the parking spot, and I pulled back here. And he was talking to me for, I don't know, like 3 or 4 minutes, and you could hear him hollering in there. So he got back in the Lexus, and he backed it up so they could see me. And they waved at me and everything like that.
Okay. All right. And so you have no text conversation, no phone conversation, nothing like that over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday?
No, sir. Nothing.
Okay. Was Chris scheduled to go to 319 that morning?
He told me on Friday, whenever we spoke with Cody, because he was right there, because I took the call on Bluetooth because I was parked in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever he found out about the leak, he said, I'll go out and look at that thing first thing Monday morning.
Chris said he was going to go out first thing Monday morning.
First thing Monday morning.
And take a look at the 319.
Yes, sir. To try to verify that whether or not that line was leaking or not. And I believe he called Cody. When I talked to Cody, he called Cody on Friday or Sunday at 5 p.m. and told him that he was going to head out to Surrey first thing Monday morning. Whenever Cody Roberts called me the last time, because I called him and asked him how it was going, and then he called me again whenever I was in the parking lot on Friday of that week, was at 3:13 p.m. Whenever Cody Roberts called me and identified that there was a leak out at Survey Ranch, or at least at the time he suspected that there was a leak.
Okay.
And I told him, don't worry about it, dude. It's Friday, we'll double check it on Monday. We can go out there on Monday morning and verify. And that's whenever Chris said, I'll go out there on Monday morning. So.
Is he usually one to volunteer for something like that?
Yeah, usually he is. I mean, he's really good about doing that stuff.
So let me review the statement. He met with Chris at around 3 p.m. on Friday. By 3:13, he received a call from another co-worker named Cody. Cody tells Troy that there is a leak that needs to be checked. Troy said it's not that important, it can wait till Monday. Chris overheard the conversation and volunteered to go out there first thing Monday morning. First of all, a leak is a serious danger to the environment. A spill or any other leak has to be reported to the responsible department. To understand how important that is, you need to know that especially the site Survey 319, built in the 90s, had some prior issues. Records show that the site was in the process of being dried and abandoned for the last time in 2015 due to serious issues concerning leaks. But let's listen to co-worker Cody's statement.
He called me on Sunday. I missed a call and he texted me saying he was going to go out there first thing in the morning. He called me about 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon and then followed it up with a text letting me know.
So what was the text on Sunday?
I have the whip checks for the Survey 629. I'm going to go straight out there from my house in the morning. I will look at that 319, the one that had the stain around it.
I don't think I went back that far.
Yeah. No, I just was surprised that he called me on Sunday. I mean, I didn't know he was going to go out there until he called me. I didn't know anything about the whip checks needing installed on that Survey Federal 629. That's not to say he didn't discuss it with Luke or Chad or Troy or anything like that. But I wasn't aware of it, which is also fairly whip check. I didn't know he was going to go out there until he called me. I didn't know anything about the whip checks needing installed on that Survey Federal 629. That's not to say he didn't discuss it with Luke or Chad or Troy or anything like that. But I wasn't aware of it, which is also fairly whip check.
Let's summarize. Cody was not aware that Chris stood beside Troy when he called him. Colleagues normally say hi. Cody was not aware that Chris volunteered to go out there first thing Monday morning to take care of the leak, as Troy stated. Chris lied to Cody he needed to perform whip checks and mentioned nothing about the leak until Cody asked him if he knew what he had found out there. Remember, the survey area was not Chris's usual responsibility. And most importantly, why did Troy and Chris decide that an oil leak can wait till Monday morning? And the biggest question of all, where was the health, safety and environmental supervisor Nicole Kessinger? They did not talk on the phone all day until 8:57 p.m., which is unusual given the fact that Kessinger knew Shanann was on a business trip to Arizona.
Did you meet at your house? Did you guys go to any restaurants? Did you go to establishments? Where'd you go?
Last Wednesday, he came to my house, and this past Saturday, we went to, where's the name of that bar that we used to go to? It's not the same, the Lazy Dog, but it's the one off of 144th and I-25. I think it's 144th, up there.
And it's the Lazy Dog?
Yes.
Did he ever mention a Rockies game that night?
No, I don't think so. But the Broncos were playing.
Okay.
Which we couldn't see because they sat us in really crappy spots. That's okay because it's preseason. But,
so do you recall what time you went there?
No. I remember, well, kind of. So he had to get a babysitter that night.
Do you know who that was?
Somebody who's really young. I remember I asked him who his babysitter was, and he's like, we have two. This girl's only 17, but the other one's out of town. So this girl's going to stay, and she doesn't do overnights, so I got to be back by 10. And I remember her saying that, and him saying that. And I don't know what time he got to my house. It was between, I want to say like 5:30. It might have been 5, but I don't think so, because I think the babysitter, if I remember correctly, showed up at like 4:30 or something, and he was like, I want to spend time getting my kids acclimated to her, and then I will come.
So his children didn't even know her?
Oh no, they knew her, but he was saying like he likes to like stay there for a little while. He doesn't just like walk out the door when they show up. It's like a transitional thing. And so that's why I'm saying I don't know how long I was. I want to say like 5:30, and then he had to be back by 10, so he left at like 9 something to be back by 10.
So he picked you up? What was he driving?
No, he didn't pick me up. He came to my house. We drove my truck.
Okay. So he gets to your house, you know what he was driving to get to your house?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure he usually drives that Lexus, but he doesn't always park it in my complex because the parking, there's not good spaces. So where you guys pick me up at, a lot of times he'll just park out there because there's room.
Okay.
So that kind of works so that because there's just not a lot of room in my apartment complex. But off the top of my head, I don't know what he was driving.
What kind of truck do you drive?
I drive a Toyota 4Runner.
Okay. So you guys take your 4Runner to the Lazy Dog.
Yep.
And you said they sat you in crappy location.
It's
Where
just
were you inside the back?
When you walk in, you just hang a right, and we were like one of the first 2 booths on the right when you walk in the door. It's just not it's a good spot, but just not for the TVs. And we actually went to the other Lazy Dog. We went to the one that you and me go to. Where's that at? Federal and 120th. It's 120th and Federal, and we went there, and they have a different menu, and I was like, I don't want to eat this food, so we should go to the other one.
So initially you go to the 120th
Yes.
location. Did you actually get seated?
Kind of, sort of. They were like cleaning off a table, and we were standing there, just kind of looking at the beer menu and the food menu, and I was like, I don't want this. And so we
6
left.
o'clock?
Probably somewhere around there, 6:30, and then we left and went to the other one, and we ate dinner.
And you're in like first or second booth, right to the right of the door. I'm just asking because if they have video, we want to be able to verify that. So that's why it's important. And you're there for how long?
I don't know. Probably we didn't stay for dessert, so I don't know. How long's the restaurant take? Like an hour and a half?
And I've never been to the Lazy Dog.
I don't know, probably about an hour and a half, and then we went back to my house for a little bit, hung out at my house for a little while, and then he had to leave, and then he left.
Do you recall what time he left?
Off the top of my head, no. I remember he was like going to be late to be back at 10. I think there's a text message where he starts texting me when he's home at his house.
Okay.
So you can probably figure that out. And I remember I texted him back and I was like, damn, that was quick. Or wow, that was really quick. He's like, yeah, I even had time to stop at the ATM or stop at the gas station, stop somewhere to get money to pay the babysitter.
Okay.
And I was just like thinking like, well, that was really fast. But I think he was still like a little late coming back, but nothing too drastic. So he probably left my house like somewhere around 9:30ish.
All right. And you go straight home. He texts you.
Well, I was already home.
Right. No, he texts you. He goes straight home from your house and he texts you that he's home.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be in your text message.
It should be. I'm pretty positive that was not a phone call. I'm almost positive that was a text. Sometimes I get them flip-flop or I don't remember, but sometimes I know. I'm pretty sure that one was a text.
Saturday, during your dinner, what kind of conversation did you guys have? So, just you went to his house on 2 occasions.
Yes.
Was that recent?
No, that was like pretty early into it, and I did not like it and did not want to go back.
Do you recall where the house was?
Yeah, it's like right off the highway in Frederick.
Okay. And you know the streets?
I mean, I'm sure I could figure it out again if I like really had to. Like off the top of my head, no.
Do you know the street name?
No.
Okay.
I would have to like drive around in there to get there.
Okay.
At first glance, it is perhaps not easy to understand why I believe Salmon's Saturday was a bit sus. Kissinger tells investigators that they went to the Lazy Dog at 120th, but she didn't like the menu, then went to a different Lazy Dog at 144th, where they were seated. The Lazy Dog on 144th is conveniently located in Erie, only 7 miles from the Watts house. Watts frequented this Lazy Dog location on July 24th for a pickup, then again on July the 26th. Why would Kissinger and Watts visit a restaurant in Watts' area of residence? They could have been seen by someone. Watts mentioned to Kissinger prior that they can no longer meet up in the park because this is where his friend Nick goes for his runs. The menu of the Lazy Dogs do slightly differ, but in my opinion not enough to leave the restaurant to go to the same restaurant chain down the road. CBI was trying to obtain both Lazy Dog surveillance footage, but were told by the manager that none of the cameras were in working order. Not even a week after their visit to the restaurant, Watts was arrested under suspicion of murder. His face plastered on the news internationally. None of the restaurant's employees came forward or has seen them in either restaurant. Kissinger stated in her interview that she hosted friends from out of town for the weekend, so the Lazy Dog restaurant visit could actually have been a takeaway or delivery order. The only thing I cannot answer is why. It's just one of these gut feelings that urged me to mention it. Watts used his credit card for payment for one simple reason. He had no money left on his Anadarko gift cards.
I let it get to a point where I've never been angry before. Like, and this is like the epitome of being angry, the epitome of like showing a rage, the epitome of like losing your mind.
The preceding day concluded with a telephone conversation with Kessinger, and the following day commenced with another call to her. Chris Watts discovered himself in solitude at home once more. While he was in favor of Shanann's attendance at a Thrive convention in Arizona, for which she expressed gratitude, her absence provided an opportunity for him to spend time with his mistress. However, the circumstances appeared distinct on this occasion, as he found himself responsible for the care of his children. Questions must have surfaced in his mind. How could he navigate the upcoming Monday without drawing attention, particularly when Shanann announces the impending arrival of their baby boy? How is he going to explain that he will be spending a weekend alone with his wife Shanann in Aspen? Upon Shanann's return, how could he sustain the lifestyle he had enjoyed with his mistress over the past couple of months? The daydreaming about a future with Kessinger was short-lived, as Shanann brought his mind back to that he had children by saying, "Can you get the girls' backpacks ready for tomorrow?" And on top of that, the marriage counseling book laid on the kitchen counter reminded him that he agreed to give their marriage another chance. He once again was not strong enough to just tell her in all honesty that it was definitely over. The brief indulgence in daydreams about a future with Kessinger abruptly ended. As she often does, Shanann requested pictures of the girls, and he promptly sent her individual snapshots of each girl sitting at the kitchen table enjoying cold pizza. Seeking a sense of strength, he turned to researching volcanoes spewing lava and smoke. The eruption of lava from a volcano is a potent symbol of destructive power. It represents the raw forces of nature that can reshape landscapes and alter the course of life. In this context, the lava can symbolize the uncontrollable aspects of life, inevitability of change. Psychological interpretations suggest that a volcano, with its eruptive force, can symbolize the eruption of emotions or thoughts from the subconscious. The lava may represent deep-seated feelings or ideas that have been buried but are now coming to the surface. During the girl's nap, Shanann seized the opportunity to communicate with Watts. She expressed her desire for him to call her before their daughters woke up, concluding the message with an affectionate "I love you." Although Watts affirmed that he would call her, he never did. Upon arriving at the birthday party with the girls, Watts captured moments of them playing in the pool from a distance. Shanann made attempts to engage in conversation, but Watts responded with either brief replies or none at all. Meanwhile, Kessinger spent the day at the museum, attending the Dead Sea Scroll exhibit. During the birthday party, their messaging exchange continued, with Watts appearing notably more talkative in the messages to Kessinger than in those to Shanann. At 4:56 p.m., Watts resumed his exploration of volcano-related searches. 10 minutes later, he contacted his co-worker Cody to inform him about his plan to visit the survey fields the following morning. The message states, "I have the whip checks for the survey 629. I'm gonna go out there straight from my house in the morning. I will look at that 319 as well, and run the 1129 if you want." Interestingly, during a snippet of Cody's interview, he expressed unawareness of the Service 629 requiring whip checks. Cody seemed surprised and asked if Watts knew about his findings at the site, to which Watts responded that he was standing next to Troy when Cody called. In the midst of this text conversation with Cody, Watts managed to carve out time for a 12-minute phone call to Shanann's mom, all while concurrently researching the Dead Sea Scrolls. At 7:46 p.m., Shanann asked Watts whether the children were in bed and requested photographs. In response, Watts indicated that Bella had recently returned to bed and forwarded the same images of the girls eating pizza at the dinner table that he had previously sent earlier in the day, adding this picture of Bella.
It's easy. I want to stay with her. Don't take her away.
By scrutinizing the router log data, I was able to construct a comprehensive profile of Watts' movements, phone calls, and his presence at home during specific times. As per the router log data, Watts did not return home until 9 p.m. that night. On each occasion, Watts returned home, his phone seamlessly connected to the home router. Moreover, the phone consistently reconnected to the home router after he concluded a phone call while inside the house. Watts' location from the end of the birthday party until 9 p.m. remains undisclosed. It is evident, however, that during this gap, he engaged in phone calls and text messaging activities at someplace else other than his residence. Shanann's friend Nicole later said that Shanann and Chris were talking on the phone while awaiting their flight back to Colorado. Although the specifics of the call were not disclosed, Shanann mentioned that Watts did not appear to be at home. She messaged her friend Eddie, who required advice on her car, that she can contact Watts since he is awake. Eddie's call to Watts remained unanswered. However, he called her back immediately after. As soon as the call between the two ended, Watts' cell phone connected to the home router for the first time after the birthday party. At 9:28 p.m., Watts initiated a call to Kessinger, marking the commencement of their well-known, extended 111-minute phone conversation. Just a minute into the call, Shanann attempted to reach Watts with another unanswered call. At 9:37 p.m., motion detected by a neighbor's surveillance camera revealed activity in the Watts driveway with the apparent presence of headlights from a vehicle. At 9:45 p.m., the neighbor's motion-censored camera recorded headlights at the Watts driveway for the second time. Unaware of Shanann's delayed flight, Watts continued his phone conversation with Kessinger. The call, which they later struggled to recall, concluded at 11:19 p.m., coinciding with Watts' phone reconnecting to the home router. Upon learning of Shanann's delayed arrival, Watts expressed surprise, stating, "Holy crap, that's gonna be late." Just 4 minutes after sending this text message to Shanann, the neighbor's surveillance camera detected motion, capturing another instance of headlights originating from Watts' driveway. This marked the third and final recorded movement until 1:48 a.m. the following night. Subsequently, a witness reported observing a white truck parked alongside Highway 52, situated directly across the field behind the Watts residence. This observation raised suspicion, prompting the witness to contact the police. Regrettably, no further investigation or follow-up was conducted with the witness. Despite being informed of Shanann's delay, Watts remained notably engaged in various activities, consistently reconnecting to his home router multiple times. This suggests that he was frequently entering and exiting the house or moving in and out of Wi-Fi range.
Told her I didn't love her anymore. And every time I think about it, I'm just like, did I know I was going to do that? I didn't want to do this, but I did it. There was already something in my mind that I was implanted that I was going to do it, and I woke up that morning and it was going to happen, and I had no control of it. Maybe she was praying. Maybe she was just. I read the Bible. It said, where the scripture says, "Don't forgive these people, for they do not know what they do." Maybe she was saying that. I don't know what she was saying in her head, but she, like when you guys told me take off your shirt and check for defensive wounds, and there wasn't going to be any. Just like I couldn't let go. It was like somebody else, like if you picture somebody else around you, holding your hands, holding you, keep you from not letting go.
Evidence suggests that the killings of Shanann and the girls were not impulsive acts of rage, but rather carefully planned. Shanann had requested that Watts prepare the children's backpacks for school, to which he agreed. In his initial interview with the FBI, Watts described himself as a devoted father and husband, claiming to handle various morning tasks, including working out, cooking breakfast, and preparing the girls' belongings for school. However, when Officer Coonrod entered the house during a wellness check, no packed backpacks for the girls were seen.
And so I read that Shanann hadn't taken the girls to school, which was unusual.
Yeah, because Bella was going to start kindergarten next Monday, and they were just getting ready to start back again.
Tell me about a normal day in your house.
So like one when I'm actually home all day.
Let's pick a day. 2 months ago. Let's pick a Saturday. Let's pick a school day.
A school day. Okay. So, well, I'm usually at work.
Okay.
But so usually I'm
their lives and your lives.
Okay. So school day. So I'll get up about 4 o'clock. I'll go down, work out for maybe about an hour or so.
At your house?
Yeah, it's a weight bench in the basement.
Okay.
So get done with that. Come back upstairs probably about 5 o'clock. I'll eat some breakfast, make some eggs, cottage cheese or something like that. Everybody's still sleeping. I'll make I'll make Cece's milk. I'll bring it upstairs. Bella's usually kind of iffy on milk in the morning, so I can fill up the water bottles, put it in the refrigerator. Make sure the backpacks have change of clothes,
their hat, and if it's like a swim, like a water day or something, make sure they have water shoes in there, make sure they have sunscreen, make sure that all that in their backpacks.
Change your clothes for what?
In case they have an accident.
Oh, okay. These are little.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not much Bella, but Celeste.
Sure.
And make sure they have their little blankies if they, whenever they go nap.
Okay.
They have all that with them. I have that all laid out, and I go to work.
Watts' confession contradicts the evidence. The motion sensor in the front room did not register his preparations for work, as he stated, nor did it detect movement descending or climbing the stairs to the master bedroom, disproving the emotional conversation he claimed to have had with Shanann. While the complete Vivint log is not publicly available, the disclosed information notes movement starting at 4:23 a.m. with the opening of the basement door. Watts most likely ambushed Shanann as she came down the stairs to the basement. The lack of preparation for this vicious attack explains the absence of defensive wounds. Watts' neighbor noted frequent entries and exits through the backyard, suggesting the use of basement windows. That aligns with body cam footage revealing a window without a screen. A now deleted August the 14th snapshot displayed fresh tire marks close to the backyard fence. Given Watts' knowledge of camera blind spots and the neighbor's surveillance camera out front, it is logical to conclude that events occurred in the basement, potentially with Shanann's body removed and taken away through the back. Upon return, Watts may have entered the house through the window again, making his way upstairs when the first movement started by opening the basement door.
No, like we have camera there, neighbor has a camera. Everything's checked out. The doorbell, only right there. The neighbor has one over there. I don't want to put anything out there, like just suspecting like if something like somebody pulled in the back, and because we have a driveway back there from the new townhomes, but it's so hard to tell. Like there's no cameras in the backyard or anything like that, so it's really hard to even suspect anything right now as far as how she could have left, or if someone came picked her up, or if somebody took her.
Here's a pair of her shorts. I don't know if they've been touched or moved.
A sign of something that would be where either a physical took place or remnants of certainly said all over, but that's
sure.
What he's supposed to be doing is something that is a trauma scene.
Okay.
Is what.
That's what he does.
What I look at more of that.
Okay.
Certainly downstairs when we first came in, that was interesting. But that could have been an argumentative place too.
Another indication that contradicts Watts' account of transporting Shanann's body in his work truck is the presence of a sophisticated fleet system called Geotab. You can find Geotab in all Anadarko-operated trucks. Geotab stands out as one of the most advanced GPS systems utilizing behavioral analytics to trigger alert for any irregularities. It monitors factors such as seatbelt usage, freight weight, passenger occupancy, speed, phone activity, location, coordinates, and more. And no, before you ask, it's not possible to remove or tamper with the device. Loading a deceased body's weight onto the work truck floorboard would likely have triggered suspicion and alerts through the geotab system. Moreover, when Watts' truck was impounded, it was found cluttered with various items, including paperwork, clothes, loose tools, and large totes filled with miscellaneous items placed on the back seat. Throughout the investigation, trace lifts and prints were collected from different areas in the truck, and certain items underwent further testing. Unfortunately, the results of these tests were never disclosed, and the remaining items were given back to the evidence room, waiting for testing to this day, as the investigation ceased when Watts pled guilty to all charges. When commencing an investigation, particularly with supplied surveillance footage, it's imperative to ensure its authenticity and rule out any potential tampering. The provided footage undergoes a thorough authentication process to ascertain its genuineness. The red pixelation visible signifies that the footage is unaltered, devoid of edits, overlays, or additional frames. This authenticated footage serves as the foundation for our analysis. Consequently, we have determined that the footage is genuine and has not been tampered with. The second crucial factor involves considering the camera's low resolution, variations in night and daytime views, the diverse light sources and their intensities, along with different angles captured in various frames. Taking all these elements into account, we arrived at a conclusive determination grounded in scientific analysis. Before delving into the halo effect, I encourage you to take a brief glimpse into the investigative efforts Don and I have undertaken behind the scenes in this case. A halo from a bright light source in video surveillance can distort facial features, create strong contrasts, and introduce reflections or distortions. This optical effect may alter a person's appearance, making them seem like someone else on the footage. The halo effect on video surveillance footage is a result of the interaction between intense light sources and the camera's resolution. This interaction can create optical illusions, making it challenging to accurately identify individuals and potentially leading to the misinterpretation of their appearance. The surveillance camera from the neighbor lacked high-resolution quality, and combined with the bright light near Watts' garage, it becomes challenging to clearly observe detected motion events. Although the camera failed to start recording when a person left the garage, it initiated recording as early as 5:14 a.m. The reason behind the motion recording delay on the neighbor's camera is straightforward. It records with a delay of up to 30 seconds. seconds. This delay explains why we don't witness Shanann exiting her friend's car and approaching the front door. By the time the camera started recording, Shanann was already inside the house or beyond its view. It's plausible that Watts left the house before 5:14 a.m., triggering the motion recording even if no visible movement is captured on camera. At 5:17, we observe an individual whom many, myself included, presume to be female, exiting the garage. This is where the halo effect becomes apparent. The glow from the garage wall light, indicated by the red circle here, extends onto the neighboring property, as evident in the upper right corner of the highlighted frame. This halo reflection creates the illusion of the person leaving having a ponytail, giving the impression of a female. Within the entire footage, there's only one frame that captures the person's back of the head as they exit the halo. Having demonstrated that the individual exiting the garage is indeed Watts and not a female, I will now illustrate that the walking style, so-called gait, matches as well. To do so, I will present the nighttime version followed by the daylight version and conclude with an overlay of the two. Discussing the phone ping left by the mistress when she called a friend at 6:16 the morning of August the 13th in Frederick has become a contentious subject. Despite numerous efforts to debate the mistress location, it's crucial to rely on factual data and not on misleading narratives from Chris Watts, his mistress, or the DA. The district attorney managing the discovery faced mounting pressure for answers, prompting them to discreetly replace the mistress' phone records with copies of other documents in the hope that the alternation would go unnoticed, given the consistent page count of the discovery. This manipulation of information is just one example of the gaslighting surrounding this case. No matter how much you twist and turn it, the ping stays forever. A breakthrough came when a person from the Steeple Rock community, inspired by my video about the phone ping, approached me. She shared her frustration, having reported her sighting to the police only to be ignored. According to her account, she observed the same white truck circling around Steeple Rock and the Saratoga area very early in the morning. After providing her with an array of images of various white trucks, she confidently identified the exact one. This eyewitness account confirmed the presence of the mistress at the location. The lady expressed her dismay with law enforcement, describing how she felt disregarded. While she couldn't discern who was in the truck, she noted a small silhouette. When the driver noticed they were being observed, the truck passed by slowly, creating an unsettling atmosphere before speeding away, never to be seen again. Fearful of potential break-ins, the lady wisely pretended to be occupied in her front yard, avoiding any direct confrontation. En route to the service site, Watts needed to ensure he had sufficient time to dispose of Bella before his co-workers arrived. Despite repeatedly attempting to reach Cody, who had discovered the leak the week prior, Watts' calls went unanswered. Anxiously, during this 1-hour drive, he messaged Cody and contacted other co-workers to ascertain their whereabouts. Upon reaching the scene at 6:53 a.m., the exchange of text messages and calls with colleagues persisted until 6:59. Subsequently, the time frame between 7 and 7:40 a.m. remains largely unaccounted for, except for one detail. In response to Kessinger's request, Watts sent her a picture of his laptop screen as proof of his on-site presence.
The thing we talked about was him proving that he went to the oil field.
That he went to work.
At 7:40 a.m., Watts crafted a contrived message to Shanann, inquiring about the kids' whereabouts if she was taking them somewhere. Following this, Watts called Troy, initiating a series of back-and-forth calls and texts with co-workers, continuing until around 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. when the first two operators, Chad and Melissa, arrived on site. Despite the escalating situation at his home, Watts remained relatively unaffected. While receiving concerned messages from friends about Shanann, he focused on searching the internet for the girl's school phone number to inform the director of their withdrawal. Unaware that Shanann's mother, Sandy, had already contacted the school by 8 a.m., Watts proceeded with his actions. Once his co-worker, Troy, arrived, the team decided to join Cody at the Survey 1029 site. On location, rather than assisting his colleagues, Watts took the time to cancel the weekend getaway Shanann had planned for the following weekend and was making plans for the sale of the house. He also managed to research the lyrics of the Metallica song Battery, as per Kessinger's request, and capture additional photographs of sunflowers in the open field of Survey 1029. It was only after Cassie, Shanann's close friend, threatened to, quote, "bust your damn door down," that Watts finally made his way home.
Anything else that we haven't talked about regarding any of this stuff that you can think of that we need to cover? Even if you think it's not related or it's frivolous or anything else you can think of, suspicions, just rumors, Anything else you can think of?
Right. Well, I'm trying to go through my head on everything that I could have said to him that day. I mean, with all this stuff that's going on, you know, sometimes it's hard to remember. But I do. Another thing, that morning, he told me they were having issues and everything like that. But
was it Monday morning?
Yes. Yeah. You know, he said, yeah, we're having some issues and everything, and you know, he's like, well, her wedding ring was laying on the counter. That's what he told me. That the wedding ring was on the counter, and I was like, why would she leave her wedding ring on the counter? He's like, well, I guess that she's just through with me. I don't know.
All County Communications, this is Stacy.
Hi, Stacey. My name's Nicole, and I'm calling because I'm concerned about a friend of mine. I dropped her off at her house at 2 in the morning last night because we were out of town together, and we were on the way back from the airport, and she's having issues, and she's pregnant, and I haven't been able to get a hold of her this morning, and I've gone to her house, and her car's there, and stuff like that, but she won't answer the door, she won't answer phone calls, she won't answer text messages, and I'm just really, really concerned, and she had a doctor's appointment this morning, and she didn't go to it, and I don't know what to do. I've called him and talked to him, and he said that she went on a play date with her other 2 daughters, but, like, if she went on a play date, they're both in car seats. Why would she not take her car?
Perfectly understandable. Do you happen to know her address, Nicole?
I'm asking to stand outside her house. It's 2825 Saratoga Trail in Frederick. And then I said, like, Chris, can you just come home and check to make sure she's okay? Because the shoes she wears every single day are right inside her door. And he was like, yeah, I'll be there in 3 minutes. Well, that was 45 minutes ago. And I called him and asked him again, can you please come home? And he's like, I'm 45 minutes out.
What's her name?
Shanann Watts.
After engaging in extensive discussions with a realtor regarding the sale of his house, Watts opted to visit the property at 6508 Saratoga Trail, as suggested by the realtor, on his way home. He was briefly captured on camera driving past 6432 Saratoga before continuing to Black Mesa Road, where he disposed of various items, including his clothes, in a construction site dumpster. Spending nearly 5 minutes there along the way indicates a lack of urgency in returning home.
How you guys doing? What's that? Do you remember me? Yeah. Hey man. How you been?
Hi.
You Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. What's going on?
So my friend, we were out of town for a business trip this weekend.
All right.
And I dropped her off at 2 o'clock this morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant. She wasn't feeling well, and she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9. And I told her to let me know if she needed me to take her. She's got 2 little girls, and she was very distraught over the weekend. Wasn't eating normally or drinking, and we kept trying to force it on her because she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband and her supposedly are separating, but she didn't know this. She thought they were just having issues. He disclosed that to me today.
Okay.
Because I called him and I was like, have you talked or heard from Shanann since she left for work this morning? Because I can't get a hold of her. I've called, I've texted. Her car's in the garage. Her shoes she wears every single day are by the front door.
She only has one vehicle?
No, they only have the one vehicle in a work truck.
Okay. That's what I'm asking. There's not a...
girl that went on a play date, but they're 4 and 2. Went on a play date. Why would she take a car? They're both in car seats.
Officer Coonrod proceeded to inspect the property from outside. Nicole explained that she had attempted to enter the house using the key lock code, but was unsuccessful due to a hatch preventing the door from opening. Nicole had already contacted Shanann's mom after calling the police at 1:36 p.m. In her 911 call to the operator, she mentioned not reaching out to Mrs. Rusek earlier to avoid causing unnecessary worry, as she was unaware that no one had been able to contact her daughter Shanann. Officer Coonrod even contacted Watts, not realizing he was already in the area.
Chris's phone number is...
Okay. It was Chris, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey Chris, Officer Coonrod for the police department. Pretty good. So, do you have any idea where your wife is? Okay. Right. What my concern is her car's here. They're saying she is diabetic. I don't want her.
If she's upstairs and can't respond. Okay. About how far out are you? Okay.
All right. Thanks.
I'm here. Yeah, keep me on the phone. Okay, get me out.
Scott, how you doing?
We might initially find it difficult to understand why Shanann's friends were so quick to suspect Chris, especially given their positive testimonials about him as a good father. It's important to acknowledge that reactions are often triggered by actions. Chris not only informed co-workers that Shanann had left her wedding ring behind, but also conveyed to Shanann's close friend Eddie that she had departed in the middle of the night, while he told everyone else that Shanann took the girls on a play date. Watts was concerned about what people might think of him, so he was seeking advice from Cassie's husband Josh about his perceived image in the situation. Josh warned him that non-cooperation with the police would reflect poorly on him. These actions and statements may have contributed to the heightened concern and suspicion from Shanann's friends.
We're checking the house for consent.
Oh. Well.
When Shanann's phone was located, Watts couldn't turn it on as she had changed her passcode. Once they managed to activate it, it promptly connected to the home's router.
Does she work?
Yeah, she works from home.
Oh, from home?
She works distance her lifeline. So that thing turns back on, it's gonna start blowing up. Oh yeah. Trust me.
It was shut down?
She's in the fly. Yeah. Well, what's originally under the cover on the couch? Do you know her passcode?
I don't know her passcode.
It used to be 2385, but now it's 6 digits.
What's the baby's due date?
1/31, day 19.
What does she do for work?
She works at a direct sales company called Drive.
Over the next few minutes, Watts is consistently engaged on his phone, faking calls and messages to banks, hospitals, and other friends. One particular incident stands out. He appears to receive a text message prompting him to enter the bedroom. Upon returning, he presents the wedding ring to Nicole, claiming to have discovered it on Shanann's nightstand. This peculiar behavior raises questions. Could someone have reminded him about the wedding ring through a message?
Were you able to pull up the video at the 1210? See, was it front door? That was you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it just beeping at me at the out in the field.
Watts became more and more anxious when neighbor Nate shared his surveillance footage. He went into excessive detail about what he had loaded into his truck that morning. It seemed like he was very uneasy, but perhaps not because he was worried they would see him carrying a deceased body, but more so about who they might observe on the tape. In my perspective. On tape, we observe Watts frequently using his phone. A specific message draws attention. Oh my god, that is absolutely ridiculous. They would freak out. Kessinger later claimed in her interview that she messaged him about Lucky Charms cereal for the girls. However, would such a message genuinely elicit Watts' strong response? I doubt it, and so did Agent Kobach, who confronted Kessinger directly about her deceptive statement, asking more questions. In her response, Kessinger, as usual, attempted to downplay the situation and divert the conversation to another topic, claiming that the messages on her phone wouldn't be in the right order. I suspect that she was aware Watts had a house full of cops and was providing him, acting as his personal advisor, with tips on what to say or how to manage the situation. However, it seems like that this time Watts didn't agree with her.
So this is the final one.
This is the one I don't know if this is in order. I'm not sure exactly what this is referring to. I think this one at the bottom, this, oh my god, that's absolutely ridiculous. They would freak out. That, do you remember when I told you, like, I was always trying to, like, incorporate his kids and stuff? I mean, even if it wasn't, like, directly, like, me and him, but just, like, I was always thinking of cute stuff when I'd see stuff, and I was like, oh my god, little girl would like that. I would show him, and I found this box of Lucky Charms that was unicorn Lucky Charms.
Okay.
And I thought they were really cute. And I texted it to him and I was like, do your little girls know about these? Because they're awesome. And I was like, little stuff like that.
So
and
that's...
I don't think that that's the 13th. Because I don't think I talked to him that day. What day was the 13th? I can't remember.
Monday.
Was it Monday?
I think. I gotta look. Because I can't.
I think it will. No, well then maybe these are in order. Monday was the day I think that I sent that text.
Yes, that's Monday morning at 2:44 p.m. So that's an afternoon, Monday. Does that sound right?
I was at work when I texted it to him.
So that fits.
Okay, so then it is in order. So it is in order.
So
and this
is
makes
the
sense.
12th.
Because that's Sunday, right?
That's Sunday.
Okay, so they're in order. They're just missing a whole
So
lot.
he's basically saying he's still at that
barbecue,
and that fits. Okay, perfect.
Okay. So then this one is in the right place. Yep. I was thinking 8/13 was Tuesday, and I'm like, I don't think you and I had a very pleasant conversation on Tuesday.
You want to screenshot all those to me?
Yeah.
There was a specific moment captured on body cam footage where I genuinely thought Watts might faint at any minute. Watts appeared visibly dry-mouthed and distressed as Detective Baumhofer approached the large blue bag next to Shanann's suitcase. The contents of the blue bag must have been something that could have led Watts to believe that he is going to be arrested on the spot. It appeared to me that Watts was more distressed by the discovery of the bag than he was while watching Nate's surveillance footage.
The stuff she had last night? Yep. What's this? Oh, that's just darker stuff. Is that your stuff? Yeah, that's the stuff I was going to give people to the Oh, these are yours? Yeah, like 38s. Okay, well, give us a call or anybody if you're hearing some summer. Otherwise, we'll just start putting together just in case we can pull the trigger.
Considering the numerous messages and calls, it seems unlikely that Kessinger was completely unaware of Shanann's and the girl's disappearance. In her interview, she mentioned Watts asked her to call him. She states, She left work at around 3 p.m. and went home, where her friend Jim was waiting for her. Additionally, she stated that Watts sent her a text message informing her that his family was gone. Unfortunately, the district attorney never released the alleged text messages that Kessinger claimed to have received from Watts. Jim was never interviewed either, after Kessinger's protest demanding that law enforcement has to leave Jim alone.
Just a friend of yours.
Yes.
He does that was coming to your apartment and doesn't know anything about Chris. Does he know anything about Chris?
Okay. Nothing. Absolutely
And
not.
we've known Jim for years and years.
You're not dating him or anything like that?
No, he's like one of my very good friends. Like, my dad knows him. He's a great guy.
Well, it sounds like you just went to work that day and then you came home and you were there at 3:45.
Yeah, like give or
Monday.
take like 5 minutes.
Whatever.
But yeah, so 3:45. I meet Jim there. Yeah, I was.
And
told
so
that.
Jim is understand from an investigative point, he could be a person who could say, yeah, I was there at 3:45. He doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know anything. He could say with one phone call, yeah, she came in at 3:45. Done.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't have to ask anything more than, hi, Chris, my name's Kevin. Or Jim. And I'm not saying you have to give it to you.
Just leave Jim
But
alone.
If
Jim does
at
not
some
need to be wrapped
point,
up in this. Yeah. So, anyways, Chris was like, "Call me."
and this is the 3:45 text.
Yeah, he sent me like a few. I think there was 3 of them, and I don't remember what the other one said. But something about like, yeah, my family's gone, or I don't remember verbatim, but call me when you can, or call me when you have a chance, something to that effect. And so when he told me call me, I was like kind of alerted, where I was like, okay, what's going on, you know? But first when he told me like his family was like not home, that didn't really seem odd to me that his family wasn't home. It was really vague. I'm like, okay, like, are they at the grocery store? Like, elaborate. And so, you know, and then, but he says, call me like it's like an emergency, but then just says that they're not there. And so I'm like really like floored by that. Well, not like floored, but just kind of like, he says, call me, so I'm concerned. And then he's really vague. So I'm like, maybe he just wants to talk to me. I don't know. I think it took me a little while to like really process the severity of the situation, just because this is not something that you expect to see every day. And the way that he talked to me made me believe that this is not what was going on at all.
Okay, so you make a phone call to him and you guys have a conversation.
I did. I stepped outside.
This is 3:45.
Ish. I mean, well, like, I think I actually interacted with Jim for like probably a good 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, he's my guest. He's in my house. So I don't think I called him right away. But like, I mean, I'm trying to balance the fact that I have my friend here, and then Chris is saying that something needs to be addressed. But to me, it didn't sound like an emergency. I mean, it's all the time. Like, people aren't home right now. You know, so it wasn't like, oh my God, I have to take this call.
It didn't register as being critical.
No. I mean, it was the way he said it. And I was like, okay. So I remember hanging out with Jim for a while, and then I stepped outside and I made a call like out on my back patio, and I called him and he didn't answer the phone.
Back here?
Yeah, there's a driveway from the townhomes that backs right up to our fence.
Now, would you think that's a female friend or a male friend?
Honestly, I'm not gonna put anything by it right now.
All right. Well, we appreciate you letting us go through your house.
And then he texted me back. Oh no, did he answer the phone? I don't remember. I think he missed my call and then he called me back. Or he just answered. Either way, it was a very short talk to him where he was just like, I have to go. The cops are here. And I don't remember if he said that on the phone.
No problem. I'm
definitely not in there.
No. Hey, hold on one second. Call you back.
Like, I don't think we started talking again on the phone until like after my company left. And he was like, I don't know. He just started like giving me details about stuff, and I don't remember what order, but he was saying like Nikki was really upset and that the cops were there and that they were like searching the house, and I was just like, what? You know, like what? Why? And he was telling me that they had like had a disagreement or something like that, and then he told me like she was gonna go to a friend's house, And I was like, okay, well, maybe she left.
After law enforcement left the Watts residence at around 6 p.m., David, a friend of Watts, visited him to offer support after learning from Jeremy about Shanann and the girls being missing. Jeremy arrived approximately half an hour later than David. According to David's interview, Watts appeared occupied with household chores, though no cleaning supplies were visible, but David did observe freshly vacuumed carpets. They stayed for about an hour before leaving together at around 11 p.m. when Watts expressed a desire to rest. Watts seemed to me like he needed a more assertive partner, someone who could provide guidance, given his relative inexperience in life. Despite having a high IQ and being nicknamed the Rain Man by colleagues, I don't perceive Watts as particularly savvy in life matters. He relied on Kessinger, who played roles like a coach, nutritionist, and financial advisor. Watts called her while David and Jeremy were present, and this wouldn't be the last time he involved Kessinger in conversations. According to David, they stayed for about an hour, aligning with their departure around 11 p.m. The level of trust Watts placed in Kessinger, allowing her to listen in on conversations and having no secrets before her, makes it difficult to believe she was unaware of anything. If she truly didn't know, as she claimed, Watts would have had to be extremely cautious about what he discussed with friends or law enforcement to avoid any negative reactions from her. After engaging in multiple phone calls with Kessinger that extended throughout the night, Watts received a call from Officer Goodman at 1:58 a.m., but the call did not appear to connect. Goodman attempted to reach Watts multiple times afterwards without success. Watts eventually returned the officer's call, but this time using his work phone. While conversing with the police, Watts also called Kessinger simultaneously. I suspect that Watts attempted to include Kessinger in that phone call without success and opted to use his work phone to call Goodman back, possibly due to having the mistress on the other line. Although it cannot be proven that the mistress heard what Watts discussed with the police, the choice to use his work phone in this situation with her on the line on his private phone raises suspicions.
That's him. Okay, let me just come on. This is Officer Goodman. Is this Christopher? Yep. Hung up on me again. Hello, Christopher? Christopher. Yeah. It's Officer Good. Yeah. Just going to keep it recording so in case he calls back and I get him. Hello, Christopher. This is Officer Goodman, Frederick Police Department. Are you there? Hello? Is that's the number you called and it went right through last time you had contact with him? 910-309-1702. That's what's coming in. They don't have a house phone? That's a different number now. This is Officer Goodman, Frederick Police Department.
Hey, this is Chris Watts. I was trying to call you back from my personal phone. Kept saying call failed, but I just used my work phone.
Oh, this is your work phone? Okay. So, we're just trying to get some of your wife and kids' information entered in to put some alerts out there.
Despite the 2:07 a.m. phone call being their last registered conversation, Watts and Kessinger continued communicating through messages. In her interview, Kessinger expressed suspicion due to Watts lying about Shanann's pregnancy, claiming to have spent time on the internet searching for news reports on Shanann, and the girl's disappearance during her lunch break later turned out as an excessive 5-hour search. An extended lunch break, if you will. She mentioned feeling upset and leaving work early after reading the media reports. When asked if she saw Watts on Monday or Tuesday, Kessinger denied meeting him, stating he didn't propose a meeting due to her friend Jim's visit. To validate this, she reached for her purse, claiming she kept those messages because there was, quote, no reason to delete those. Upon what criteria did she choose to delete particular messages, opting to retain others that were more innocuous? Could it be because specific messages had the potential to cast her in a negative light? Kessinger informed Agent Kobach that the Tuesday conversations occurred through text only, labeling it Text Tuesday.
So on Monday, he never tried to be convincing to get you to come up to see him.
No.
Nothing.
Not that I'm aware of. I don't think so, because I had my buddy Jim was over Monday and Tuesday, and he knew Jim was over Monday and Tuesday, and that's why we were going to hang out on Wednesday.
Okay.
So no, he didn't ask me. So Tuesday rolled around, and she still wasn't around, and this is when I started getting kind of sick. Like, my friend Jim was sick on Monday when he came up, and I don't know. I just started feeling like crap as it was, and then I was just kind of having a hard time focusing and like thinking about what was going on. And I'd asked him a few times, I'm like, where's your family, Chris? Like, where's your family? You know, and he would tell me like, oh, I don't know, or I want them home. Like, I asked like several times. So I think I got different responses, but each time, like, he didn't know where they were. You know, and I'm like, she's still not home. And he's like, no. And anyways,
Tuesday morning. We're almost done.
I know. I'm trying to just keep it all together here for you guys. Tuesday morning. I think most of the texting throughout that day was kind of like, have you heard anything? Like, what's going on? It was kind of like me checking up on him. And I don't remember everything, but it wasn't, I didn't even make it through the entire workday. Like, I was feeling really, really sick, like in general. And then I decided on my lunch break to get on the internet and look at what was going on with all the reports. And I saw a report that was like, this woman who's 15 weeks pregnant and her 2 daughters are missing. And I was like, whoa, what? And I was just like so floored, and I read a couple other articles just to make sure that, you know, all the newspapers are, and like just double check, like, am I really reading this right? And I'm like, okay. And so, oh my God, I got so sick. I was just like, I need to go. I just like packed my stuff and I left work and I went home, and I remember I told Jim that I was going to get home early, and he wanted to come over right away, and I was just like, I just needed some time to like process what was going on. But I did tell him, I was like, you can come over earlier than you did yesterday, because he didn't want to wait in traffic. That was the thing. He's like, save me some time. So I don't remember what time he got there. I probably still have that text because I don't have any reason to delete those. I probably still have that text because I don't have any reason to delete those. I probably still have that text because I don't have any reason to delete those. But he came over a little early, but I did have like a gap of time in there. I don't know how long it was. I bet it was like from the time I got home to the time Jim got there, but it was probably like, I don't know, hour and a half, maybe somewhere around there.
It's interesting that Kessinger pointed out the brief period between her return home and Jim's arrival. To be precise, that brief gap lasted 1 hour and 27 minutes. Coincidentally, I observed the same model truck passing by the rear of the Watts house twice during the active canine search around the time Kessinger claimed to have left work.
And I remember talking to Chris during this time, and it was like all text. I did not talk to him on the phone at all on Tuesday. And I was pretty upset, where I was just like, you know, I was going back and forth like, where's your family, this and this and this.
Tuesday, what are we talking about? Oh, yeah. So I kept telling him, I was like, Chris, I know it's yours. It's okay. I was like, go find your family, you know? And it's like, was I hurt? Yes. But at the time I realized, like, his situation with what he had going on was, like, way more important than, like, our situation. And so that's why I was just like I confronted him about it. And then I was like, you need to go find them. And, like, we talked about it for a little while. And then I was just like, I don't remember exactly how it went, but something along the lines where I was like, why can't you just be honest with me? I was like, stop.
As she often did, Kessinger omitted a significant portion of the message content with the intent to consistently portraying herself in a positive light. Watts provided a contrasting account of the messages exchanged on that Tuesday.
Did you talk to Nikki afterwards? After all this happened?
On the 13th and the 14th.
What was that conversation like?
It was the 13th. It's kind of like, you know, it was more text, and then maybe a phone call, and then she thought maybe Shanann like took off with the kids, like just, you know, because I was telling her I didn't know where they were and all that. And in the 14th, she kind of thought something may have happened because they hadn't come back.
Why do you say that she might have thought that?
Or, you know, she kept asking me like weird questions. Like, she kept asking like questions that only I would know, but she was testing to see if like it was actually me on the phone. Like,
what do you mean?
Like, she would ask like, you know, like, what's my dog's name, or like, what do I like, what yoga studio do I go to, or something like that. Just like, like, I'll just answer like I'm, and then like another thing about, I'm not sure if this is you. Just like, okay.
Is this through text or is this through calls?
Text.
Oh, okay. So she wasn't hearing your voice. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible she thought you'd been arrested and we were on the phone?
Either Shanann had my phone or somebody else had my phone, or like maybe, you know, maybe she thought it was.
Well, hopefully Shanann would know all the answers to those questions, right?
No. This is Nikki asking me.
Yeah, but if she's asking you your name of your dog and what yoga studio and like, wouldn't she know that?
Maybe she thought, you know, maybe I was with Shanann, and she was just trying to find out who she was. Yeah, like some of the conversation, like on the 14th, got a little weird. I think that's when she met with CBI or something, or FBI. I'm not sure who she met with first.
So she talked to you after she met with?
No.
Oh,
that was like, she had told me like, this is the last time you probably hear from me. I'm going to stay at my friend Jim's.
Watts becomes entangled in contradictions, especially concerning Kessinger's belief that Shanann had his phone, which seems implausible given the police presence and search efforts. It's clear he is attempting to divert the conversation. Interestingly, their statements, aside from significant events omitted by Kessinger, align closely. This raises suspicions that they may have discussed potential interviews with law enforcement and coordinated their narratives. However, it doesn't necessarily imply Kessinger's guilt of anything. It could be a coincidence. Matching statements, although, to such a high degree is uncommon, though not impossible. Additionally, after what Watts refers to as weird questions, Kessinger urges him to delete all messages, and Watts told agents, quote, "I didn't delete everything. I hope I could help you guys out a little."
She told me to delete everything. I didn't delete everything. Okay. I'm not sure why I didn't delete everything, but probably helped you guys out a little bit. But
She told you to delete everything?
delete all conversations.
Did she tell you why?
She said delete it. I don't think you can ever delete a text message.
We're pretty good at getting deleted text messages.
If Kessinger truly had nothing to hide, as she claimed in her interviews, why would she be concerned about the possibility of someone else being on the phone instead of Watts? Watts' comment that he hoped he could help out by not deleting everything was very troubling, raising suspicion that the messages might contain something potentially incriminating that Kessinger wished to conceal.
I really thought she just left. I did. I was like, get your phone, put it on video, and put it in your pocket. And I was like, and just zip it up. And he's like, why? And I told him, I was like, because you can voice record. I was like, so if she comes home, I was like, and you two are still like, you know, if there's some choice words being said, because you guys obviously got into like something that's, you know, early
Did he
in the
ever
morning.
articulate what their argument was
He did,
about?
and I will get there. But, you know, I told him, like, just be prepared, you know.
However, Kissinger wasn't the only one reaching out to Watts that night. Shanann's mom repeatedly called him to extract information, urging him to recount the events. Mrs. Rusek found Watts' behavior peculiar and contacted the police at 4:38 a.m. on that Tuesday morning. She expressed suspicions about Watts' involvement in the disappearance and suggested foul play. Mrs. Rusek also noted that Watts claimed he had to go to work, which seemed suspicious to her. She voices concerns that Watts might dispose of the bodies by pouring oil over them. Additionally, she felt that Shanann, due to her health condition, wouldn't have been able to resist if they had argued when she arrived home late. Following the widely watched porch interview, pressure mounted on Watts as inconsistencies in his statements to Shanann's friends and co-workers raised suspicion among law enforcement. Surveillance on Watts commenced around 4 p.m. on Tuesday. Gillian, the technician analyst at CBI, received instructions to preserve phone records for both Shanann and Chris Watts through their phone numbers by search warrant. Tony, the security manager at Anadarko, provided Chris Watts' GPS records for July and August from his work vehicle. Gillian used these coordinates in Google Maps to trace his likely path on the morning of August the 13th and identify his first significant stop. This information was shared with the CBI, FBI, and Frederick Police Department. Gillian also ran residential addresses where Watts spent considerable time through public and criminal justice databases to establish a pattern of life and identify any relevant associates. Commander Egan, upon learning about the extracted data and analytics, alerted the surveillance team, speculating that Watts might be heading to Claude Court, assuming it was a residential address where he spent significant time. Reports indicate that tracking Watts during the surveillance operation posed challenges due to traffic. The surveillance team briefly lost sight of him, prompting Commander Egan to arrange for Watts to be called in for an interview at the police department. Once the gang unit, as the surveillance team calls themselves, had re-established the trail, it became evident that Watts was en route to the Frederick PD as anticipated.
Now let's talk about you. Okay. On your end, I gotta ask, what's your name? I don't have another one. You sure? I'm sure. Okay. Would you tell me if you did? Yes. Okay. So I did not cheat on my wife. I gotta tell you, that sounds like a load of horseshit to me.
Watts stayed overnight at Nick and Amanda's house. Despite his absence, law enforcement initiated surveillance on the resident to prevent unauthorized entry. A comprehensive search of the house was conducted, and evidence, including Shanann's Apple Watch, was discovered and seized after downloading data from Watts' home router. A stained bedsheet and pillowcases were discovered in the kitchen trash can. Additionally, while emptying the garage trash cans, investigators found the book Hold Me Tight, which Shanann had ordered for Watts after he agreed to couples counseling, still in the box it was delivered in the Saturday prior. Although it was not mentioned in the evidence reports, in earlier body cam footage from Monday, August the 13th, it can be observed that Bella's favorite doll was also placed in the garage trash bin. Forensic technician Gillian was informed about the exchanged emails between Watts and Kissinger at their workplace. Gillian's report states, "I was requested a comprehensive analysis of this individual. I conducted searches in public and criminal justice databases to compile a thorough law enforcement support packet. The packet was distributed to all law enforcement personnel. While at the command post, I received a cell phone return from Verizon Wireless for Nicole Kessinger. Agent Kevin Hoyland and I decided that I would scrutinize the document for any content while he would analyze the phone tolls. Simultaneously, the FBI interviewed all Anadarko operators who had interacted with or observed Watts on Monday. Watts supervisor Luke reported that Watts typically arrived at the office in the morning. He saw Chad and Melissa in the office around 6:30 a.m., but not Watts. However, Watts contacted him early in the morning, informing him that he would be working at the Survey Fields this time. The interview with Watts' friend and confidant Troy began around 10:30 a.m. While there is no released audio from Troy's initial interview, he made significant statements documented by the FBI agent. Troy asserted that the survey sites were operational but would be plugged and abandoned shortly. He acknowledged awareness of issues in Watts and Shanann's marriage, but claimed he never sensed Watts being involved with somebody else. Troy provided limited information, stating that everything seemed normal that day. He mentioned arriving on site around 8:30 a.m., while Melissa and Chad had already been there since 8. Troy provided agents with a map of the survey fields and gave consent for his messages with Watts being videotaped. In a brief audio clip from Troy's initial interview I was able to obtain, he was questioned about Watts' presence on other survey sites that morning. Troy responded that he was not aware, but suggested that the agents could verify Watts' whereabouts by checking Geotab, providing a valuable lead for the investigators.
So do you know Chris went to any other wells before he went to this 319?
No, sir, I don't. But if you guys need to verify that, you can check his car site.
It is.
It's called car site, or actually, it's called a Geotab nowadays.
Oh, okay.
Anadarko has a Geotab,
yeah,
inside of all of our vehicles.
Okay.
So it tracks everywhere we go, how fast we're going, whether or not we're wearing a seatbelt, if we take a call over Bluetooth, everything.
Okay. So, is Ruggin about an hour from Frederick? Also, do you think?
Well, it's you go right down 52, and as soon as you get to Hudson, so from Frederick to Hudson, I don't know how long that takes. So you got to go through Fort Lupton. So I imagine that probably about an hour, maybe, to get to Hudson, and then I don't know, from Hudson to Roggin. Hudson to Roggin on the interstate going 75 miles an hour. You can usually make it to that Roggin exit probably 25 minutes, 30 minutes.
Okay.
I'm guessing, and then it's a little bit of a trek back into Survey because.
Where is Survey from? So is it north or south of the interstate?
It would be, all right, from the interstate, because you go underneath the overpass, so I guess it would be on the north side. Yes. Yeah, because there's a little two-track there, or not two-track, there's a little cattle guard, and you pass it, and then you go underneath this really narrow deal underneath the interstate.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
After the interview, investigators called Troy and requested him to guide them to the battery sites where Watts had been on Monday. Troy met with the investigators, suggesting that Watts might have buried evidence at the Survey 1029, the second site they visited that day, when Watts used the bathroom in the open field behind the batteries. Notably, Troy omitted any mention of returning to Survey on Tuesday morning, raising suspicion when agents later discovered his whereabouts. They contacted Troy for a follow-up interview 2 days later, on August the 17th, upon discovering that he went back to Survey 319 on Tuesday morning. Chris, an employee from a water extraction company, also reported being at Survey that morning to extract water from the topless holding tank. According to the employee Chris, Troy arrived, parked his truck, and mentioned searching for a lost crescent wrench from the previous day. The FBI grew suspicious after finding Troy's signature on Chris's job site analysis form. In the follow-up interview, Troy admitted hesitating to share that Watts' behavior raised suspicion in him. He returned to Survey to investigate, but was unable to do so, as he wasn't alone. Troy believed he could provide valuable information about the case. He noted Watts, typically well-dressed at work, appeared in old work clothes, wearing old boots instead of the recently purchased new ones. Watts also had jeans tucked into the boots, prompting Troy's comment, "Are you slumming it today?" Not only did Watts' appearance raise suspicions, but also his decision to park his truck very close to the wellhead, which is considered dangerous. He drew a diagram for investigators, and it was established that Watts parked near the shallow grave where Shanann was later found. Troy apologized for withholding that information, and investigators acknowledged the challenging situation he faced after pulling Troy's GPS from that morning to make sure where he was.
Just one of these loose ends that we need to
No,
tie
and
up.
I understand that.
You know,
That's why I said I had no problem with him.
Sure, no problem. I appreciate that. And I think you pretty well told me that you recognized that something was wrong, and you put a few things together that's tripping your suspicion.
That's why one of the first things I brought up to you guys is, okay, we're at the 319. That was the site that I met him on. I got a map out my truck. Anything I can do to help. I went and got you guys a map so you guys could take pictures of it or whatever. You called me and asked if we go out to Survey Ranch together. I said, yes, sir.
Yep.
I didn't hesitate, and I drove straight from County Road 37 and 52, where I received your phone call, straight to Hudson and waited there for you until you guys arrived on location.
Yeah.
Because, I wanted to help.
Yeah. No, and
I didn't know it was going to turn out this way.
No, and I appreciate it.
We appreciate that.
But, and obviously you thought something was up because that wasn't adding up.
Yeah, I pay attention to a lot of things.
Having consented to a polygraph test the previous day, Watts encountered investigators at 10:53 a.m. after picking up his father Ronnie from the airport. Watts had called Ronnie the day before, seeking his assistance, leading Ronnie to promptly fly to Colorado. While Ronnie waited in the police department's lobby area, CBI agent Tammy Lee carried out a pre-test on Watts to gauge his reaction and heart rate during an evident lie, and when a question was posed where both Watts and Lee were aware that he wasn't lying. The actual test commenced at 2:50 p.m.
Alright, you ready?
Yep.
Father, any questions?
No, you're fine. I just trying to get my hand the way right.
Okay. We're going to get started, so stay still. Test is about to begin. Please remain still. Do you understand that I will only ask you the questions we have discussed? Regarding Shanann's disappearance, do you intend to answer all of the questions truthfully?
Yes.
Are you now in the state of Colorado?
Yes.
Before 2018, have you ever wanted to hurt someone to get even with them?
No.
Are you lying about the last time you saw Shanann?
No.
Is your first name Christopher?
Yes.
Before 2018, did you ever lose your temper with someone you cared about?
No.
Do you know where Shanann is now?
No.
Were you born in 1985?
Yes.
Before 2018, did you ever say anything out of anger to a loved one?
No.
Did you physically cause Shanann's disappearance?
No.
The polygraph test concluded at 3:08 p.m. Agent Lee exited the room to assess the test results and confer with other agents involved in the investigation.
Gatorade?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Can we get that door? Okay.
You got it. Thank you.
Yep.
While Watts anxiously awaited the polygraph test results, CBI agent Saylor and CBI agent Sentner, who had recently visited the oil sites with Troy, met with Luke, a foreman to Watts. At 3:27 p.m., responding to statements and tips from co-workers and Watts supervisors, agents launched a drone to search the Survey 319 field. About 10 minutes after the drone's deployment, what seemed to be a bedsheet was discovered in the field. Agent Saylor's reports details. Detective David and Commander Borders located what appeared to be a sheet lying on the ground. They took a still photograph of the sheet, and upon inspection, it appeared that it was possible that there were unknown objects underneath the sheet. Detective David and I approached the sheet from the north, and just inside of the brush, just south of the edge of the gravel pad, we encountered an area of bare dirt that appeared to have been recently disturbed. Detective David and I backed out of the brush and returned to the pad. The owner of the survey ranch granted consent for the search and property collection at 4:17 p.m. Sailor and Borders revisited the sheet. Sailors report details. Commander Borders and I then approached the sheet from the south, along the fence line of the well side. The wind was blowing in that direction, and I was attempting to determine if I could detect the smell of decomposition. Upon reaching a closer proximity to the sheet, I was able to determine that it was not as large as had appeared on the video screen of the drone controller, and most likely did not have any objects underneath it. I noted that the sheet appeared to be a fitted sheet of the same printed pattern as a flat sheet located in the kitchen trash can during a search of Watts' residence. I also noted 2 black lawn and leaf garbage bags with red drawstrings in the brush near the sheet that appeared to have been left there recently. I requested CBI crime scene analyst Dave Yoakum, who assisted in the previous search of the residence, provide me with a copy of the photographs of the sheet located in the trash can. CSA Yoakum provided me with those photographs via email, and I compared the sheet in the photograph to the sheet on the ground and determined that they had the same printed pattern. I then physically checked the sheet and determined that there was nothing underneath. There were dirt stains on the sheet, including a large area of dirt stain with patterns that appeared to be from the sheet being dragged along the ground. Photographs were taken of the sheet on the ground and of the stains of the sheet with my cellular phone. I also checked the garbage bags and found that neither bag had anything in them. As soon as it became clear that additional personnel would be needed to search the area, Luke, Watts' supervisor, shut down and started venting the tanks for safety. In light of the polygraph test results and the information received from agents discovering a bedsheet matching the one found in Watts' kitchen trash can at the Survey 319 site, Agent Lee, along with FBI agent Coder, re-entered the interview room where Watts had been sitting alone for nearly an hour.
Oh my gosh, I did forget part of it, didn't I? So I brought Graham in here because we want to talk to you about the results, okay?
Sure.
So, it is completely clear that you were not honest during the testing, and I think you already know that. You did not pass the polygraph test.
Okay.
Okay. So now we need to talk about what actually happened. I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise. Chris, I'm not stop. It's time. Just stop for a minute. Take a deep breath. I want you to take a deep breath right now.
There's a reason you feel sick to your stomach. And when people hold stuff inside, it makes you physically ill. And I can just tell on your face, I could tell from the second you walked in that you were wanting to just come clean and just be done with this. And I appreciate that because you knew sitting down in that chair that you weren't going to pass today. And you knew I was going to find out because I told you that. And then you continued to stay knowing that you could, at the end, say, you know what? I just need to get this off my chest. Like, I just need to tell you what happened. We're not here to play games. We're not here to do any of that with you. We just want to know what happened. So can you start from the beginning and tell us what happened?
Everything that I have told you, I did not lie on this polygraph. I don't know how much I could tell you right now. Like, I did not.
It's not even an option right now because you did not pass the polygraph. So I know you were being deceptive. So that's not even an issue right now. The issue right now is what happened to Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. That's the issue right now.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about that.
Investigators spent a considerable amount of time trying to get Watts to confess before he unexpectedly admitted to cheating on Shanann. Unaware that agents were already aware of Watts having a girlfriend, he attempted to steer the conversation in a different direction by offering reasons for why Shanann might have left him. Watts repeatedly asserted that he didn't lie on the polygraph and claimed ignorance about his family's whereabouts. Agent Coda urged Watts to be truthful and portrayed Shanann in a negative light, describing her as controlling. Agent Lee, seemingly desperate, remarked that, quote, "chicks are crazy," and suggested the possibility that Shanann might have done something to the girls. When Watts appeared distressed from the intense questioning, he requested to speak with his father, Ronnie.
Where the rubber meets the road.
Ready? I choose honor. I'm not proud of it. But I don't want to get her involved in this. I don't want to ruin her life. We knew all about Nikki. So we didn't need to ask you about her in the polygraph. We just didn't need to, because we knew, okay? I believe that Shanann's the reason none of that happened. I believe that she's a controlling person. Maybe doesn't listen to you as much as she should. I think that she can do whatever she wants and you can't.
Chris, did Shanann do something to them?
No, I don't know.
I'm serious.
I have no clue.
So you would have known. They didn't leave the house. Did Shanann do something to them, and then did you feel like you had to do something to Shanann?
They were at the house when I left. They were there.
Maybe Shanann did it, and you felt compelled to fix this so Shanann didn't look bad. I feel like you cleaned up for her. But I don't know, you're not telling me that, so it makes me think the worst. Like, did you
I did not
to all three of them?
I
Like,
did not do anything with kids. Can I talk to my dad or something? I just need to talk to my dad if I flew across the country. Crash him about this. If we brought your dad in here, would you please tell him what happened? Can I go out there and talk to him? Well, I don't know that you want to do it out there because there's a lot of people going through the halls. Should we bring him in here?
we'll step out.
Can you give minutes with him? Okay. Hey, Chris, we're going to let you have however much time you need, okay? Sure. Tell us how long. Polygraph. Failed it. Too much emotions. Crying, turn. Not gonna let me go. Any reason why I shouldn't? They know I had an affair. Anything else you want to tell me? What's going on? I'm a protector. What? I want to protect her. She hurt him. Yeah. Not hurt her. Your girl. Probably parents want her. Well, I was downstairs. They came back up. They were gone. Did she get home? Hair blue. She chose blue from the bed. I freaked out when she had me. She killed she choked on death. Not just that, rage. I'm hiding.
Watts was hesitant to provide investigators with detailed information on how he disposed of his family when his dad was present. Ronnie left the room, believing that Shanann had murdered her children.
So if you're up for it, we'll talk a little bit more. I think we have a picture of, is it Survey 319? I think we have a picture. I'll walk you through that. I'm sure you have a ton of questions for us about, how your night, month, and week is going to look. So Tammy, I was just telling him, I wanted to show him that picture.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about how the rest of the night's going to go.
That looks familiar to you? What is that?
It's the BRC Survey 319.
Okay. Whereabouts? The Shanann and the girls. Okay, can you mark it for me? Yes. This is just for the The S for Shanann. Okay. And where are the girls at? In these? So which one is, do you know which one?
Are they in the tanks? Can somebody who doesn't know what they're doing open those? Okay, it's easy to open.
What's in the tank?
It's a mixture of oil and water.
There's a sheet found down here? Where's that from?
That was what Shanann was wrapped in.
Despite repeatedly expressing her disgust with Watts and her suspicion that he may have harmed his family, Kessinger chose to delete all potentially incriminating evidence from her phone that could have aided the investigation into a quadruple murder, and she urged Watts to do the same. Only after ensuring that only the messages she deemed harmless remained, did she decide to contact the FBI the morning of August the 15th. She met with agents in Majestic Park for an interview. Unfortunately, the interview is not in its best quality, so I have decided to give you a quick rundown. Feel free though to watch the entire Park interview on my channel. Kessinger states that she was not in love with Watts and their relationship under the belief that he was in the final stages of divorce. Notably, this interview was conducted before Watts' first confession later that day, and Kessinger's statements suggests that she knew more than she revealed. Once again, she shifted blame more towards Shanann, just like Watts will do later, portraying Watts as a great father who loved his children, but Watts was not concerned for Shanann's whereabouts. She mentioned that Watts didn't grasp the severity of the situation and didn't think he believed something terrible had happened to them. This interpretation may vary based on perspective, but considering the overall situation, it raises questions. Because at this point in time, they were still missing and nobody knew the outcome, or if, quote, something horrible had happened to them. When questioned about riding in Watts' truck, Kessinger claimed she never did, but mentioned riding in Shanann's white Lexus once. She tried to minimize this by saying it was a long time ago and not recent, and just for a short ride, as they typically used her white Toyota 4Runner when going places. Her disclosure of riding in Shanann's Lexus might have been an attempt to justify potential findings of DNA traces or other forensic evidence. Another noteworthy aspect is that during her interview with the FBI, Kessinger provided Chris Watts' personal phone number. However, after being informed that her phone might undergo extraction procedures, she deleted as much as she could and was unable to provide any phone numbers to Agent Koberg in her interview, escorted by her dad only 24 hours later.
And then I think I asked you this, but the white vehicle. I know he drove that. But were you ever in a white vehicle? One time? Okay. Can you just tell me about that?
I'm trying to figure out where we went. I think it was like something close. We take my truck everywhere. It was a while ago. I don't remember where it was at. I think it was something quick. Like I think he had to like run an errand or something at like the grocery store. It was just like his vehicle. But other than that, like never. I was always in my truck.
Signs of anything suspicious? If he just said that she left. Or he didn't know where she was.
He didn't know where she was. He didn't say she left. He's just like, I don't know where she's at.
And the kids as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I think he sounded genuinely concerned. I mean, those are his kids. And from the impression that I get, he's a great dad. I mean, he's all about them. He loves his little girls. And so, you know, for me, I could tell when I could, like, hear it in his voice that he sounded concerned. It was just like, those little girls, I'm sure.
Do you have water? Do you want anything, Gatorade or anything?
No, thank you. Are you hungry at all?
Some pizza?
I feel bad eating any of your food.
No, it's fine. What kind of pizza do you like?
It doesn't matter really.
Okay.
Just whatever.
Take it away.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Do you like that kind? Or is that
I like anything.
Okay.
Thank you.
Same way, hand on neck, hand over mouth, or hand over blanket, which is over mouth. Did that take a couple minutes? Okay. Then what?
I just noticed she had a couple spots like over her eye or something. Picked her up.
And we talked a little bit earlier today about it. You don't remember why a different tank? Okay. And there was no reason?
They're both the same tanks. They're just like, I don't know why I did.
Okay. There's one, I never got up there. Does one catwalk lead to both?
Oil can go into either tank.
Okay. But if you go up one set of ladders, does that eventually indicate to both?
It's one catwalk.
Okay. Now Bella was a little bit bigger. Was she harder to get in?
It felt like a little bit.
Okay. And so was it a matter of just kind of maneuvering her?
Chris, come stand up for me. I'm going to have you face that wall over there. Yep, just face it. Lift up your hands. Okay, come and face this wall. Okay, go and face me. Okay, you don't have anything on you, right? Okay, nothing in your pockets? Okay, go and face that other wall behind you. I'm just going to search you real quick. Spread your legs. Further. Okay, turn around, face me. No earrings, necklaces, anything like that? Okay. Let's walk up this way. Straight. Go out that door to your left. Seat. Just gotta. Thank you, sir. Good. Frederick, PD all the way out, please. Good night, guys.
Despite the compelling evidence against Watts, the media played a role in shaping public perception, possibly to justify investigators' portrayal of Shanann negatively and elicit a confession from Watts. Although it was evident early on that Shanann was not involved, the incident highlights the significant influence media holds in shaping public opinions.
What does her mom say to you?
She tells me that they had taken Chris into custody, and I said, for what? And she said, on suspicion of, I think she said on suspicion of murder. She said, he just said that he knew where they were. She said, but the news is going to report something different. So I knew what I was going to see before I saw it. Because the news and everybody was saying that he had confessed to murdering all three of them. My understanding was he had only confessed to knowing where they were.
New developments in the search for a missing woman and children from Frederick. A law enforcement source has told 9 Wants to Know that Shanann Watts and her kids have been killed. That same source said her husband, Chris, has admitted to killing them.
This shocking news breaking overnight has already sparked a memorial outside of the house, and that's where we find 9 News reporter Eddie Randall this morning. Eddie, what's going on there now?
Good morning, Corey. Gary, I can tell you right now, still very, very shocking news. The street right now out here is quiet. Police seem to have left this scene for the time being, but I can tell you, we just got this information in, and according, it says the Weld County Jail has arrested Christopher Lee Watts, and he is now facing these charges. Let me list them for you. 3 charges of murder in the first degree and 3 charges of tampering with physical evidence. Now, this news is shocking, and, you know, we've been telling you overnight that Chris Watts was arrested in connection with the disappearance, now being charged with those charges we just listed. This is for the case involving his 34-year-old pregnant wife, Shanann, and their 2 daughters, Bella 4 and Celeste 3.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. My name is Michael Rourke. I'm the Weld County District Attorney. And I hope that you all understand this investigation is still ongoing. We are at the very preliminary stages of this investigation, and so as a result of that, we're going to be constrained in the types of questions that we can answer, and I hope that you all understand that at this point. I wanted to address the process and the procedure that's going to occur from this point forward. After the suspect was arrested last night, this case has been formally referred to my office for determination of the appropriate formal charges that will be filed against the suspect. As Sergeant Albert indicated, the suspect has a bond hearing this afternoon at 2:30 in Division 5 at the Weld County Courthouse. Following that, we will be given a deadline by which we need to file formal charges. That will be sometime Monday afternoon, and we will make a determination on charges between now and then. That determination will be based upon the information that we have at this point as a result of the cooperation by the Frederick Police Department, by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I truly want to thank all of those partners for their efforts.
This matter comes on for a first appearance. Mr. Rourke, correct me if I'm wrong, but formal charges have not been filed yet?
That's correct, Your Honor. The defendant was arrested. Formal charges have not been filed. By my calculation, I believe they will be due to the court at 3:30 on Monday.
Thank you.
And at this point, I was like, I'm in a very messy situation with this man, and I don't know what to do. And so I called my dad, because he's like the only person that I trust with everything in the whole world. And I was just like, I have a problem. And I told him everything. And then I was like, we just discussed it. And it was like, we need to go to cops, definitely. Because I figured you guys would find me eventually. But I was like, I feel like they need to speak to me. I feel like I'm a very important person for you guys to communicate.
You are.
The audacity of requesting agents to pick her up at home suggests a desire for attention or potential motives related to selling her truck, as evident in her numerous lengthy calls to Toyota dealers. The interview, mostly pre-scripted by Agent Kobach, seemed designed to have something recorded. Kessinger hesitated to consent to the phone search despite claiming a willingness to help. Guided by Kessinger's father, the interview focused on limited inquiries. She refused details about her friend Jim, crucial for verifying her whereabouts, and suggested pawning Shanann's wedding ring, despite her claims that the concern for Shanann and the girls made her physically ill. Angered by investigators having text message content with her friend Charlotte, she questioned why she even had to sign a consent form. Kobach allowed her to pick and choose what could be downloaded. Kessinger was not treated as a suspect, which would have been appropriate. We are not talking about stealing bubblegum in a store and conceal incriminating messages. We're talking about quadruple homicide where 4 innocent human beings paid the ultimate price by having their lives taken from them. She was cleared before an investigation took place, likely to maintain her cooperation. Despite her father's intervention, he expressed interest in understanding the plea agreement process. In essence, this interview appears to paint Kessinger as a victim of betrayal by Chris Watts, emphasizing her innocence and concern for Shanann and the children. Her arrogant attitude towards certain issues is perplexing, showing disrespect not only for the victims, Shanann, Bella, Cece, and baby Nico, but also towards law enforcement. She seemed to have already known that she wouldn't be exposed nor charged with anything and acted accordingly.
Did you guys ever have arguments? I mean,
No.
pretty short relationship, no arguments during that time.
No.
Did he ever lose his temper at any time?
Never.
You guys never had a yelling match?
No.
So you never saw him upset or mad?
No. And there was a couple times that we had some disagreements on things that as we further progressed into this story, but it was never, I am very calm when I talk to people. It's extremely rational when I handle situations that there's a disagreement in. And he always was the exact same way. Always. I never stressed anything. Push him to do that.
Let's pause at North Carolina and we'll come back to that real quick. I want you to read this. If you don't understand what it means, then ask me the question. But basically what it says is you have the right not to let me look at your phone. I'm asking to look at your phone for the purposes we previously discussed, for the text messages and your phone log, and unfortunately the photos that are attached there too. That information is only relative to this investigation. I'm not looking at anything else except for the conversations between you and Chris Watts and the phone data between you and Chris Watts for phone calls, for times and dates for those phone calls. And then the content of the text messages that are there. And we'll write that specifically down here. Understand that.
I don't want anybody to get some of those texts. They have nothing to do with this case, and they're just
between you and Chris?
Yes, they're just.
So just tell me what you're.
They're just kind of raunchy.
Okay,
I don't need anybody.
Everybody's an adult.
Posted
We're not going to
somewhere.
Post it.
I don't want the newspapers to get that. That's all I want.
The only ones that we would be looking for, again, is the same kind of questions we're getting to here, is things about his children, things about his wife, the questioning of, did he ever, has he ever said something to you that might indicate, maybe not then, but now, that there was something like this in his mind, or you know what we're looking for. I don't need to come out and tell you that. I understand the embarrassment of particular photos or potential sexual types of conversations you may have had with Chris. It's not relative to the investigation. We don't care. Okay, you're an adult. I'm an adult. Everybody in this room, even your dad, and I give it to you for saying that stuff in front of your dad because I'm not sure many women could do that. So that's not what we're after. We're after the information that corroborates things that you've told us, and also that corroborates or may tend to prove that things that Chris told us were a lie. You understand that? And that's maybe going a little bit far. I usually won't tell people that, but because of your reservations, that's what I'm looking for. If I can disprove something he's told me by a phone records don't lie. People do. I'm just asking for you to consent. And again, we can write right here what you're willing to give me, which is the text messages and the phone log. And unfortunately, again, the attachments on some of those text messages, and I'll write it on there, and then you'll just sign it. Okay? Do you understand the questions there? Do you have questions about any of the things that it says? You understand you don't have to do this. You're doing it of your own free will. So I'm going to put...
So the time and date of the phone call records and then our text message.
Could we get photos of him?
Huh?
Could we get photos of him?
Off of
Would
that?
you mind if we got his photos that he sent to you?
Oh, well, they'll be in that text message thing.
So all his photos were sent. There was no apps or anything else used that you guys were sending. It was all just text messages.
Yeah.
Okay. So it'd be an attachment to a text that he sent you.
Pretty much.
Because we don't have it on tape. We discussed prior to turning the tape on Tuesday, which would have been the 14th of August. You had read some newspaper articles on the 13th and the 14th that regarded this case. You had also had a conversation with Chris at some point during the day on Monday. And on Tuesday, because of what you found, specifically what you said was, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but you found out that his wife was pregnant.
Yes.
And you did not know that prior. Let's say this week you guys were to go look at some apartments, and this is hypothetical, but you've never found out that his wife was pregnant. Would that have changed anything? Like you just said, if I knew his wife was pregnant, I wouldn't be in this picture. So if his wife was not pregnant, and forgive me, but if he takes her out of the picture, you're never going to know that she was pregnant, right?
What do you mean takes her out of the picture? Like
If he murdered her, she's out of the picture. You're never going to know if she was pregnant. If he can get away with murder, you're not going to... I got divorced from my wife. You say, do you understand what I'm saying here? If she's gone...
But this...
Don't lead.
Hypothetically.
Please.
Yeah.
Don't
hypothetically.
lead on.
If she...
Okay.
You understand where I'm going. If
right,
you didn't know...
You're leading into questions that are nothing with your...
If you didn't know, though...
Wait, Nick.
That she was there.
Did you hear what I said?
I'm following you. I just want her to answer a question that relates to... She said something that's important. That if he didn't have a child on the way, or if she didn't know that, she would have continued the relationship. And you knew he wasn't coming to the office because he had told you that Sunday night.
Yeah, and then he goes, and so like they're only in the office for the morning. Like
Right.
some days it's longer than others, but I would say by a maximum of 7:30 every single morning they're all gone, and they don't come back unless they have like a meeting or something that they have to attend. So like not seeing him for the rest of the day is not like an unnormal thing.
Okay.
Like,
Did they ask for consent to get cell phone records? That'll probably be done by warrant. If we
isn't
wanted...
that what you just did?
Nope. What I'm talking about is your movement.
Oh.
By GPS or by cell phone tower to show where you were. Obviously, and I don't want to cause you concern, we want to know where you were that day too. You're dating a man who did some egregious stuff, and we want to show that you were never near him that day. Period.
I mean, you guys
So-
can track my
No,
stuff.
yeah, I mean that was something we will have to get a warrant for, anyways. I'm just saying, if we asked for it, would you have any objections to that?
No, you can have
Right.
it.
So,
I'm a pretty boring person.
well,
I
it
don't
sounds
go
like
too
you
many
just went to
places.
work that day, and then you came home, and you were there at 3:45.
Yeah, like
on
give
Monday.
or take like 5
Yeah,
minutes.
whatever.
But yeah, so 3:45. I meet Jim there. Yeah, I was.
And so
totally
Jim understand from an investigative point, he could be a person who could say, yeah, I was there at 3:45. He doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know anything. He could say with one phone call, yeah, she came in at 3:45. Done.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't have to ask anything more than hi, Chris, my name's Kevin, or Jim. And I'm not saying you have to give it to you.
Just leave Jim
But
alone.
if
Jim does
at
not need
some
to be wrapped
point,
up in this.
if at some point I needed Jim's info to, let's say we couldn't find your phone records, would you
You
tell me
can
who
have
Jim
them.
was?
I will give them to you.
Would you tell me who Jim was if I
If
couldn't
you
get
had
him?
to. I don't really want to
Great.
involve him in this. So it's not
Perfect.
fair to him. That's not, no, if I do not have to do that.
That's fine.
From what we were discussing,
I don't-
they can get the discoveries from you
I
guys,
don't
and
want
it's,
to deal with him
it's-
anymore.
it's
Mark
less
already
than-
said, he's like, he might try to call you. I think I'm going to just ignore that.
Who?
Chris. I don't know if he will try to call me. I heard, did they find those little girls yet? And I'm looking for them. And they thought, or they knew where they were at. You don't know yet, because you've been in here with me.
Right.
You don't know yet, because you've been in here with me.
Right.
Oh my god.
And whether or not we ever know what his why is, I don't know.
Did he tell you guys what his why was?
I can't discuss it with you.
so just a quick open question. The way the legal system runs, is it, if he totally confesses and pleads guilty, is there a reason for a trial, or do they just pack enough discoveries together that this proves what he said, and
So the
and
purpose
he goes
of
to a kind of court and it's done, or
the purpose for discovery is we have to. We're obligated by law to share everything that we know with the public defender or
Absolutely.
a private attorney.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't go the other way. They don't have to share anything with us. So we are obligated to give them everything we have. So
But if he pleads
if
guilty,
he pleads
though-
guilty, there is not them ever getting her name. It is going to be there at some point.
On August the 17th, just within 48 hours of Watts' arrest, I came across a revealing post on Facebook. A family member of someone closely connected to the case joyfully shared and commended the detective skills that led to Watts' confession and being incarcerated. We've discussed how media can shape the public's opinion, but what if investigators within the inner circle are using social media to influence our collective mindset? While I'm not claiming that Watts was treated unjustly, the principle of a fair trial applies to everyone. What about the potential impact on jury selection? This unexpected behavior raises questions, especially if authorities who travel around the US educating students on effective crime-solving techniques are driven by a desire for fame.
Working with the prosecutor to try to help to bring some closure to this horrible thing, and then just tell them, like, I don't think the media is going to portray a very nice picture of me, and it's just an unfortunate circumstance. And
Clearly collaborating with the district attorney's office by this time, Kissinger searched for Amber Frey's net worth and did people hate Amber Frey? Amber Frey is the former mistress of Scott Peterson, who killed his wife Lacey and unborn son on or around December 24, 2002. Peterson was convicted and sentenced to death. Unlike Kissinger, Amber did not attempt to hide evidence. On the contrary, she came forward and collaborated in a plan to expose Peterson. Another significant distinction is that Amber publicly addressed the situation, apologized to the family, and carried a sense of responsibility for an extended period, despite it not being her fault. The audacity of Kissinger to draw comparisons with Amber is astonishing. Kissinger's actions further suggest her confidence in a future free from incarceration, evidently believing she would not face charges for lying to investigators or obstructing justice. I am skeptical that criticizing and pressuring the district attorney will yield the desired answers or reopen the case. Upon reflecting on the district attorney's reluctance to release additional documents or data, I delved deeper and a clearer picture emerged. One crucial aspect, often overlooked, is that the plea agreement proposal did not originate from the district attorney, but rather from Watts' defense attorneys. To understand the reasoning behind Watts' sudden change of mind, one must consider the timing of events. Kessinger displayed reluctance in providing investigators with certain messages, calls, and images exchanged with Watts. She selectively chose which messages to share, categorizing some as harmless and others as potentially incriminating. When confronted about confusing messages, Kessinger struggled to provide clear answers, attempting to divert the conversation and confuse investigators even more by talking over them. Kessinger's phone was fully downloaded during her last interview on August the 23rd, and she was aware that law enforcement could recover deleted content. Kessinger must have known that if this case proceeded to trial, there would be no more room for manipulation or deception. She would face intense scrutiny and questioning. Not even 3 days later, Watts' defense attorneys proposed a plea agreement, suggesting that Watts pled guilty to all charges in exchange for removing the death penalty. Shanann's family opposed capital punishment, and given the abolition of the death penalty in Colorado, it's doubtful that this sentencing option would have been pursued. Anyways, upon hearing a specific statement made by Watts during his Wisconsin interview, it became evident to me. He stated, "I pled guilty for a reason." While some might assume he pleaded guilty to murdering his entire family, leading us to believe he aimed to spare the families from the agony of a prolonged trial, I believe it was his attempt to conceal the true extent of his monstrous actions that would have been exposed during the trial. I wasn't buying into his generosity. Watts didn't care about Shanann or the girls. His sole concern was Kessinger, his desire not to, quote, involve her in this, and his wish to apologize to her for what she went through were not acts of selflessness, but a calculated move. The defense attorney recognized an opportunity to achieve 3 goals with one plea. First, make Watts plead guilty, putting an end to all investigations into his mistress. Watts' desire to protect her. He loved her, and she was his priority. Second, save the state significant money and resources. Third, secure a position in the district attorney's office, a move that materialized given his current employment status with the DA. It all becomes clear when you consider that Kessinger sat in the hallway as Watts took his final steps in the outside world. She smirked at him, almost as if to say, "Gotcha." According to Watts, in that moment, a rush of thoughts flooded his mind, like a near-death experience where life flashes before your eyes. He wanted to turn back, face the judge who had just handed down 3 life sentences, and set things right by telling the truth. However, his defense attorney held him back, stating, "It's too late."
Who's her? So I don't want to get her involved in this. I don't want to ruin her life. Like it's something like this. I don't want her involved in this.
If you did something bad, I was like, you're gonna ruin your life. And I was like, and if you did something bad, I was like, you're gonna ruin my life. And I was like, and I promise you that. And he responded back to me and he's like, I didn't hurt my family, Nikki. And that was like the last text. That was the last time we ever talked. And I never said another word to him after that.
While technically it wasn't too late, as he still had a few weeks, Watts was unaware of the process of the criminal justice system. In reality, there was a deal with the devil, a plan to achieve 3 birds, 1 stone. It seemed almost comical when investigators returned to Wisconsin, hoping to extract some truth from Watts, falling for his Mr. Nice Guy image. Little did they know, they were deceived once again, as Watts later admitted to telling them what he thought they wanted to hear, finding even amusement in their gullibility. If the investigators had been better prepared, they might have found that Watts' supposed confession originated from a lady's dream she shared in a Facebook group, identical to his so-called confession, down to the heart-wrenching outcry of Bella, "Daddy, no." Watts had memorized the details after hearing them from his numerous female pen pals. Interestingly, it wasn't the investigator's skills that led to a breakthrough. The discovery of the shadow, believed to be Bella, walking out of the garage, was solely the work of a diligent internet hobby detective. One of those hobby detectives despised by the DA and investigators. Diane Hughes, in particular, deserves recognition. She deserves a medal for finding the shadow. May she rest in peace. Once again, Watts outwitted those seeking answers, leaving them powerless. What you witnessed was my deep dive into the abyss of the Watts case. From my perspective, everything aligns logically. I have reached the conclusion that the case won't be reopened, primarily due to various undisclosed agreements. Watts fears returning to Colorado, the place where he endured solitary confinement, ridicule, and threats from fellow inmates. While it's speculative, it wouldn't surprise me if the transfer to a more favorable correctional facility was another concession orchestrated by the puppet masters, those behind the scenes, shielded from public view. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.